Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to here tonight for Cone Racing League Season 6, Round 5, as we take to the deep south of the Americas, here in Brasilia. It is, of course, Sao Paulo in Brazil. I am your usual host, CRL Freefall, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. FRL Jamie, or Jamie Morris, as he might prefer, or Jamie Indigo. He is a man of many names. We have deserved this already. But he joins me once again tonight. Jamie, how are you doing, mate?
Doing very well, thank you very much, mate. Nice to be here back in Brazil. That was last year's race, and last year's race was very good. This track always brings up some good racing, so I expect the same from here. But yeah, we'll get some cars out of the track, and I'm going to reiterate the standings for you. So I just had them a few seconds ago. There we go. So Jeroen Visser leads the championship by 4 points ahead of Wild after he beat him last race in USA. P's in P3 after getting a victory last race. And Andreas in P4 got a podium in the first race. Rudy P5 could have got a podium in France, but he disconnected to Griff. In P6, joint points with Rudy. Jaime in P7 ahead of Mark, who got 2 podiums in the first 2 rounds. Nathan in P9. Robbie arguably in P10 arguably could have been up there if he didn't have those post-race penalties. AJ in P11 ahead of Ferg. Sebe in P13. Joint points with rotation. Marty P15. IT Bumpier P16. Steiny P17. J-Law P18. Mr. BT P19. And Relentless Nathan P20.
Very, very interesting season so far after the 5 races. You know, 200 points, 205 points available if you count fastest laps. And our most scoring driver, Jerome, only on 115. A very different season from last season in this tier. We're about to sort of romp to victory. It's been a lot closer, a lot of better. Not better, sorry. A lot more diverse finishers on the podium, on the wins. Like you say, very, very close constructors and drivers so far this season. Quickly touching on the constructors there. Red Bull, top of the pops, your drivers here in this division, Relentless Nathan and Jay Lawler. Jay Lawler not here tonight, he's filled in by one of many reserves. I believe we have 4 on the grid tonight, one of which is Liam Caddick, LOI Liam Caddick in that Red Bull seat. Aston Martin, 453, not too far behind. He is pretty close by drivers, of course. One of them tonight being Farrell Fury, the Div 4 driver, back onto the pad to make a return to Div 1, and CRL Nathan, the other driver in that. AlphaTauri, Ferrari and Williams round off your top 5 as we get our first lap in tonight. It is Pyro with a 108.0 on the mediums. That is, of course, one of our reserves again filling in tonight. Further down in the constructors after the Williams, it's Alpine, Haas, McLaren, Alfa Romeo and Mercedes. The Mercedes P's, one of the big dogs in this tier, you would say, alongside Marty, an up-and-comer from Div 2 last season. Not having a great season across the board, over the 4 tiers, of course. But it's a long season ahead. A couple of guys here getting lap times in. Now, a few dodgy lap times, a 14, a 20. Not what we expect, not competitive lap times nonetheless. But it's early doors. It is a very easy track to invalidate in some places, particularly 1 and 2. Mark putting the gauntlet down with a 106.9 on the softs. It's also a track where the double outlap could be king, so maybe that's what a few of these guys are going for.
Yep, indeed. Get those lap times in, as you can say. Pyro, Rudy, interested in the medium compound tyre. Leo Correa goes quickest with a 6.8. He took pole position last time in USA, but didn't have quite a good race. Hopefully he gets back on form. But Relentless Nathan, on his lap, he crashed at John Sow and lost all of his front wing. Had to head back into pit lane. And Jaime elsewhere also made a mistake at John Sow as well. I reckon he took a lot of the curb on that corner there. But Jaime then, he's going for a second consecutive run on those medium compound tyres. And we're about to see what lap time he does then. So this is going to be an 8.0, pops himself up into P6, only a few hundreds away from Pyro. Interestingly, using those medium compound tyres in Q1, you expect them to use them in Q2. But yeah, it's a very easy soft to medium strategy. Tyre wear is not an issue around this circuit at all. So it's just an easy one stop. And we've got a retirement already, Mr. BT. I think he retired in the pit lane, not quite sure if he's got a qualifying ban or something like that.
He does, so yeah, full quali ban for BT.
That's a shame, but we've got Rudy there coming towards the line, and this is going to be a 7.9. That's a very good lap time on the medium compound tyres there. He's also gone for a second run, so we've got some good lap times coming in. And yeah, a lot of people out there invalidating their lap times. Very easy track to invalidate, like you said, coming out of turn 1, 2, 4, everywhere around this track.
Yeah, particularly even up that run to what we've now designated the What's That Straight. Of course, the start-finish straight. Those that tuned in last season, particularly within the paddocks, will know why we call it the What's That Straight. We'll actually fill you in with some details on that and show you why we call you that later on. But you can try and straight line that almost too much, cut a little bit of the pit entry, and actually validate your good run. So it's a very, very tricky track, of course. One of the shortest tracks on the calendar. Let's have a little look at that side of things, of course. Shorter the track, we expect these gaps to be very, very marginal. It is very much one of those tracks where getting P1 and getting P10 can be a matter of a tenth, realistically. Like looking at the track here, of course, a little more detailed. So only 4.3 kilometers long. That results in a 36 lap race, of course. Like you said, Jamie, tyre wear not an issue. Overheating though is. Finding the balance of pushing hard to get the most out of the tyres and not overheating them at the same time to make them last and not lose a little bit of grip is key, of course. Round 5, next week we'll go to Silverstone. But we've got a week and a full race before we worry about that, don't we?
Yeah, turn 2 and out of turn 3, Steiny had a spin coming out of those corners, so sadly for him, that lap time's already been compromised. So in Q1, the top 15 go through, the bottom 5 get pushed out, and in Q2, the top 10 go through, the bottom 5 get pushed out. And I believe Steiny's also sustained a bit of front wing damage as well, judging the way he's turning. You ideally, if you're at the top of the tables, you only want to use one set of softs. You can save it for Q2 and Q3. But Steiny there, the softs should be okay. If he hasn't sustained any front wing damage, I'm not quite sure. If he did hit the wall without those corners, he was facing backwards, so might have touched his rear wing. But it should be okay. And off to go again because it was only turn 3, so shouldn't have any problems with fuel or tyre wear. Just cool the tyres down and see what he can do. Who else we've got? We've got Jeroen Vizza in that middle sector now. He's going to come towards the end of the middle sector with a 50.4. Not touching that inside curve. I know a lot of people like to take their different lines through there. Me, ideally, I like to touch that inside curve to get the rotation on the final corner, the real final corner. Then Jeroen Vizza then making his way towards the line. And this is going to be a 6.9. And he goes up into P3, only a few tenths away as Ferg just behind goes up into P5. So very good lap times from those drivers. Just waiting for Relentless Nathan and the little tree down in P20. The little tree is out the first sector. We've got Relentless Nathan behind him. So I'd like to take you with a lap with somebody. Let's go for a full lap time. If we can see somebody, I think I'll do that in Q3 with all the drivers. I'll probably go for their lap times. But Bob Pierre, they're taking those slow corners very nicely there, not losing the rear whatsoever, being very smooth. Into this one as well, it's very easy to lock the inside front because you're essentially turning in and braking at the same time. This one can understeer depending on the tyre temperatures. Middle sector is a 50.9. Kisses the inside curve, uses the outside curve to lean on, and now making our way up the hills throughout Judsau. This flat out corner here, DRS enabled, and let's see what Head Bobbier can do. He struggled to get a Q1 last week, and let's see what he can do then as he crosses the line, goes up into P11. Interestingly, he's behind Pease by 10, who did his best lap time I see on the medium compound tyres. And Relentless Nathan goes up into P1 with a 6.60. So Red Bull 1-2, they're looking very, very strong indeed. By 2 tenths as well, Nathan's got ahead of Liam Karak.
Yeah, very strong from the Red Bull pair. Of course, Liam in as a reserve. Nathan, very strong driver going into the season. Not really had the best start, can we say, but definitely one to watch, particularly around a track like this. Shout out to the the Alpha Tauri boys. AJ Wuhan and Boompi, we caught there earlier on the stream. A nice little bit of teamwork going on. Boompi on his outlap giving Jacob the toe up towards the start-finish line. And that might be all the difference it was in about a tenth and a bit between their two times. But Pease, we've got to give a huge, huge shout out to him. You know, a 107.4 on the mediums. He is back on an outlap, so he obviously doesn't feel that safe. And when it is a track like this where the margins are so fine, you've kind of got to agree with him. He's definitely one to watch. I'm not quite sure what the difference between the mediums and the softs is here, but expect him to easily jump into the 106s with this time. But once again, big shout out to Liam as well. Last week he came in as a reserve, his first debut, got P1 in all 3 sessions, couldn't quite hack it in the race, but he's back up there again. Maybe one to watch out again as Jacob crosses the line and beats out Andreas for P9. Free lap on the softs. Of course, sometimes we will see a few drivers doing the double outlap here, like we've said before, so maybe a case of just getting the tyres worked in, getting them rubbered in, get them up to temperature. Temperature not really an issue around here, although it is very much the home of overheating, and watch out during the race for a few people making some mistakes in order, not just worn tyres, but rubbered in and overhead tyres if they haven't quite got that set up right.
Yes, indeed. P's making his way through the middle set to about 5 tenths quicker. Elsewhere, Rudy invalidated his lap time. He's on the soft compound tyres, so he knows he's not safe down there in P17. Neither is Pyro or Marty down in P19, but P's is making his way towards the line, and his lap time straight up there with a 6.8. That's a very fantastic lap time indeed. Where is Pyro? What's he doing? I think he just crossed the line to go P2. He went about 8 thousandths quicker than total P, so that's a fantastic lap time there from Pyro, who's also in his debut as well for CRL. So let's see what he could do. And Rudy's going for his second consecutive lap time. Foul Fury's down there as well. I think he's going for a lap time coming through those slow corners there. Nicely exited throughout those corners, not wheel spin, no sign of traction issues either. Understeers off the track, and yeah, that's cost him a lot there. So looks like he's going to have to go for it again. And he's already done one lap on those set of tyres. These set of tyres can do more than one lap, obviously, but when it comes to Q3, ideally you want to be doing the one set of want to go for one lap on the same set, because that's the maximum performance out there. But Rudy then, he makes his way towards the DRS line, should easily get inside the top 10 on this lap. Oh, he's in P9, so that's just enough to get himself in P9 there.
Just sneaking into that top 10. Yeah, interesting. I know Steve is the only man out on track right now, still on those mediums. So, interesting from him there. He's done 3 laps on them. He has, of course, got about 6 minutes left. There it is. So, it is a short track, you know, a 106. So, you can leave the pit. Although it is quite a long pit exit, if you leave the pit easily with 140, 145, which in some tracks would have you just on the line for getting back round to complete a lap, you can do that for fun here. So, I wouldn't count him out yet. He's not made a huge mistake, but interesting to note there. All the guys that thought, I'll chance it through in Q1 on the mediums, not able to get through in them. Just shows how tight this grid is, especially when you put them on this track here. Only person not to set a lap time is Marty 1998 in the Mercedes. Let's ride on board with him for his first timed lap, hopefully. Purple sector 1 here according to the game. So looking good already. Rounding through into the second sector. You've got this nice uphill right-hander, just cutting the curb enough, cutting the inside curb again, and using as much of that outside curb on exit. Then you get into the tight and tricky technical part of Sector 2. Is a really, really bit of gear shifting, just getting in the right gear at the right time, getting the rotation in, and the acceleration out as soon as you can before into the long left-hander. Very easy if you accelerate slightly too much, or slightly too late, or turn in slightly too late, you can run wide there. And again on the exit of that penultimate corner as we round up what is technically the final corner. It's not much of a corner when you're going flat out in 7th or 8th gear. DRS wide open as he approaches the start finish line. He's going to say a 1070, sees him go provisional P10 in this Q1 session.
It's unbelievable how close this grid is, and we've still got Seaworld Gamer down there in P18 yet to set a lap time on the soft compound tyres. He's currently in the pit lane. He knows he has to get out there, so we're just waiting for him, as it looks like he's going to come out at the very last moment. Liam out there interested down there in P2. So ideally, he's very comfortable. Head Bob, then go for another lap. Headed into turn 1, hit the apex nicely, taking a lot of curve for turn 2 as well. Very nicely set up to turn 3. So ace the first 3 corners. Now the DRS then short run there to minimise the distance on the retro posture straight. Now coming into turn number 4, break around the 70-metre mark. Go down to 4th, hit the inside curve, immediately shift up to 5th, use the outside curve very nicely there. Mark's just gone across the line to go to P5, and now coming into this fast right hander, flick it in the 50-metre board, use the inside curve there. Don't go out too wide, and it immediately goes into a slow speed corner. Very easy to lock up, as proven there. These slow speed corners there, just want to be careful with traction, get the car rotated in, don't go too wide, use that outside curve, and open up this curve there to get a really good exit coming out of here. Very easy to lose a car through here, especially when in the race you've got overheated tyres. Traction is crucial to get on the throttle the right amount of time. Oh, only a 10th up in that middle sector. But bearing in mind how close this grid up, that 10th could make all the difference. I was looking at 2 AlphaTauris getting a really good slipstream then from his teammate AJ Huhan, who's down in P14, so he needs to get a lap done as well. Head Bompia makes his way towards the line and gets, oh, it's P16 for Head Bompia. I don't want it to be his second consecutive knockout in Q2, sadly for him. So he needs to find some pace in that AlphaTauri to get up into that safe zone, but sadly for him, he's currently in the drop zone. Talk about drop zones, Andreas is also on the verge of getting knocked out. He's currently on a lap. Is he on a brand new set of tyres? Yes, he is. So that's his second set of soft compound tyres, and his middle sector is 2/10 up, and that 2/10 will put him in the top 10, depending if he can find more time as well to go further up. So he makes his way out the final corner, getting a really good exit throughout there. And now the DRS there for him. We're about to see what lap time Andreas could do. Our podium sitter back in Australia, I think he's France as well. And he makes his way towards the line as P7, so that's good enough there to get himself inside that top 10. I think somebody else who's just crossed the line behind, was that Foul Fury? Yep, it was Foul Fury. He's gone P18, so he's also in the drop zone. Waiting for C4 Gamer, a 10th up in the middle sector, but bearing in mind, he did set his best lap time on the medium compound tyres, 8/10 up. So he's definitely going to get himself inside that top 10 then. So keep it nice and clean out the exit. I want to risk it all, especially Q1. And now, he used a lot of curb, which we'll see a lot of people do. Hook the inside curb. Don't crash there, because I've definitely done that before. Coming towards the line there, and it's going to be a 6.7. It goes P3. So both McLarens looking very comfortable.
Looking very comfortable indeed. The two McLarens, the two Red Bulls, looking very, very dominant at this stage. That just goes to show you, a guy like CB can put in a 106.7, get himself into P3. He was struggling on the mediums. That just shows you, the difference there is between the two titles. XL Larkin, another of our stand-in reserves tonight. He goes P7 with a 106.8. I believe this is his debut in CRL and in Tier 1 itself. Another one to look out, a decent little driver on his day. Relentless Farrell Fury is diving into the pits. He is 2/10 of his time. Valter on an outlap, currently in P15, not a place the champion is used to. 4 laps in on his tyres as well. So, a little bit of life losing out then, but of course, this grid is so tight, he gains 2/10 on his lap. He jumps from P15, maybe up to like as far as P8, P7, P5 even, a couple of tenths. It really is that tight. AJ Wuhan out on a lap as well, as is Boompy. He's about a 10th up in his time, just coming round on to the back straight here. Cutting as much as that pit entry as he can to minimise the straight line to it, and he can improve by just under a 10th, but it's not enough to even gain a position. Steiny's on a lap. He's 3/10 up according to this. He does cross the line. He does jump Boompy, but only enough for P17. He won't have another time to complete another lap unless he's going back-to-back again. AJ Wuhan, what can he do? He can go P12 up for 106.99. That could be enough depending on what the guys down below us. Marty in the pits is in the danger zone. Currently P15. If either Valter, Steiny or Boompy improve, Farrell has retired. He has grounded himself to P19. But here comes Valter in P16 at the moment. Crosses the line. Can only manage a 107.6. So unless he's got another lap going back-to-back here, the reigning champion will be out in Q1.
5 consecutive laps on those tyres, so those tyres will be overheating. He'll feel it in the middle sector, because I went on board with his last lap. And, he's 3/10 down. That's not good news for Walter. What? Oh, Walter's out of Q1. He is out of Q1. Unbelievable there from our championship contender in P16. Both Hazzards have been knocked out, so that's a massive shocker in our Q1 session. I can't believe it. I wonder if it's a setup issue of Walter, or he's just generally struggling around this track. So Walter there has been knocked out of Q1. That's an unusual sight there, but being relieved to Jeroen Visser and the rest of them there. So that's very interesting story of qualifying already.
Absolutely. Very, very interesting one indeed. Those I see Valter taking the Kimi Räikkönen path there, and I believe it was 2006 when he got lost. But those going out is, of course, Mr. PT with his not Q3 van, his full quali van. Obviously couldn't set a lap time, left the pits on a set of wets just to confirm the setup, straight back in and retired. Relentless Farrell Fury, of course, our Tier 4 driver on the wheel this season. He is, of course, a Tier 1 driver on the pad, but only able to get P19. Not far off those guys that have been doing a lot of practice week in, week out. A last-minute reserve pulled in. Boompy, another Q1 exit for him. Not what we want to see. As is Steiny, our Tier 2 champion from last season in P17 in the Haas. Joined by the Tier 1 champion from last season in P16 in the Haas. So, not a good sign for the Haas boys. The curse, as it has been known, continues for them. It has been known within CRL that the Haas just never seems to have a good constructors portion in any of the seasons. And it seems to be carrying on into this Brazilian Q1 at least. Going over that again, Valter, Steiny, Boompy, Farrell and BT, your 5 drivers eliminated. Top of the pops, however, Relentless Nathan, Liam Carrick in the Red Bull 1-2. Seb and Pyro in the McLaren 3 and 5, with Ferg in the middle of that sandwich for his Alpine. P's, XL Larton, Mark, Nathan, JB and Antigen or Andreas your top 10. But look at that, the top 10 all within just over a quarter of a second. The top 15 all within just over 4 tenths. This is going to be an interesting Q2 shootout. We've already seen a lot of guys use their medium tyres, so don't expect any of them to be getting through. It really is going to be down to pure pace here, not strategy.
That's very interesting. First down to 75 tenths as well. That tells you how close this grid is. Tier 1 as always, but can't wait for the next session. And it looks like it got cloudy a bit towards the end of like Q1. It was bright and sunny, then it got cloudy. So I wonder, will we see a hint of rain during the qualifying sessions? But Q2 then, that's the that's the qualifying where the top 10 go through on their fastest time and have to start on those tires during the race. I think it'll be the soft compound tires. Nice and sunny out there, which is good news for the drivers. I think it wanted to be as well. So we'll see what happens in Q2 then. Top 10 going through. And if you're outside the top 10, best place to be is 11th place, being on a brand new set of tires, which ideally is on the medium compound tires, doing the alternate strategy from mediums to softs.
Absolutely. Gives you that sort of pole position, that P11. Of course, anybody that gets through this session into the top 10 will start the race on whatever tyres they set the best lap time on. Whether they do 1 lap or 5 laps on those tyres, it doesn't matter. So the key here is go out, get a lap time in, do it with as much life left in those tyres, and make sure you're in the top 10. So expect to see maybe a few set of tyres being used here by the guys, just to try and secure that top 10 on the least amount of rubber down on track. It really is one of these circuits where we can't predict who will get pole. We know a rough time of pole is expected to be anywhere from a 106.2 to a 106.4. We have seen the practice sessions rally in those sort of times. But of course, it's all very good sitting practicing for hours upon hours and having plenty of chances to do it when you've got what will be 12 minutes in Q2, 15 minutes, 12 minutes in Q3, sorry, 15 minutes in this Q2. The pressure really is on, and sometimes it can all be about that. The man that's been putting the pressure on everybody early, though, has been Pyro. Second session in a row, he is first out on track, so we're going to go on board with him and let him take a little tour around the circuit. Jamie, would you like to give us a nice little commentary around the track?
Let's go then. So takes a very wide line before he starts his lap, and let's see then, going down to turn 1 brake at the 50-meter board, hit the inside curb here, does nicely, which sets him up nicely through turn 2 and turn 3. Keep as tight as you can to minimize the distance. DRS enable for the retro posture straight. We'll see some side-by-side action here, I'm sure of it. Braking before the 50-meter ball, about 75 meters. Didn't really hook that inside curb as he would have wanted to, but used the outside curb. Minimize the distance through here as well. And now coming through turn number 6 here, flick it into the 50-meter ball. Didn't use that curb on the inside. It drifted a bit too wide, not for his liking. Coming down to these slow speed corners and misses the apex there. So it's already not been a lap that Pyro would have wanted, but it hooks the inside curb here. And coming into this slow speed corner, opening it up where Alex Albon and Hamilton had their crash back in 2019, double shifting there to reduce the wheel spin. Can suffer understeer through here, especially in the race due to those overheated soft compound tyres. A 51.3, he did better in the first session, so this lap is not ideally a good lap from him. We've seen a few mistakes going a bit out wide there, but DRS then enabled for this full on this long straight, and we'll see what lap time this is. It's going to be a 7.9, and that's not a lap time he did in Q1, so I think ideally he wants to improve that just to ensure he's safe. We've got the 2 Red Bulls next across the line of Nathan, who goes quickest with a 7.3, and what about Liam? He goes P2 with a 7.7, 4 tenths away from his teammate Jaime, up into P2 with a 7.5, Rudy up into P2 with a 7.4, and XL Larkin beats Pyro's time with a 7.7 on those medium compound tyres. So we're still seeing those mediums being used, but obviously very early doors in this qualifying session, people would still switch over to the soft compound tyres, getting those bankers in and setting their actual lap times. We've got Pease then coming out of Junsao, climb up the hill, and let's see what lap time he sets. And it says purple middle sector for him in that sector, and Pease makes his way towards the line, and this lap time is going to be a 6.7, so smashes the lap time there and exceeds the bar, 6.7.
Yeah, that bar being raced already, the 6.7s. Expect the times to get even quicker though, as of course the track rubbers in over the course of this session and Q3, but plenty of time left. A good mix between the softs and the mediums here, so maybe, just maybe, we could see somebody sneak through on the mediums. Of course, it will be a bit of trust here between the guys on the mediums. Who is going to blink first and go for the softs? To be honest, personally, I expect the majority of them to do so, but you just never know. you know, that time of Ferg, or 107.7, it isn't too shabby. Second of Pease, of course, so there is plenty of time to be gained in it, but he is quicker than Liam Carrick on his first lap. Of course, maybe a bit of a banker from the Irishman slash Filipino, and Andreas crosses the line for a 108.1 on his banker lap. Interesting that. Wonder if a few guys just maybe using an old set of tyres, get the track rubbered in, or maybe just making a few mistakes doing a double outlap almost. Because these times definitely aren't anywhere near what we've seen from them before.
Could also be a feeler lap. You could set a lap time in, knowing that you can obviously beat it on the mediums or softs and see what everybody else does around you. Like Pyro as well. He's in the pit lane just watching everybody. So everybody's watching each other, seeing who's going to blink first. But we obviously know Pease, who's just retired in the pit lane, is going to start on those soft compound tyres being P1. So we know what he's doing. But everybody else could just be on their feeler lap or exploratory lap just to see what other people do.
Yeah, just getting in, of course. You don't really want to, in most cases anyway, you don't want to be using the softs in Q2 if you can avoid it. So maybe just putting in the Q2 time, early doors on the medium, just to see how it sets them up, see what everybody else reacts, and not leaving yourself out of options. Because, of course, once you put a competitive soft lap in, it's going to be very, very difficult to beat that on even a fresh set of mediums. You know, the difference in many tracks is at least a few tenths. Around here it will be minimal because it is quite a short circuit, but at the same time it is going to be even more valuable because of how hot the tyres get. I'm just trying to find out who's in the lab. It's, you know, for a shorter circuit there's a lot of action going on. It's very tricky. It's saying a purple sector 12 51.0. I do doubt that a little bit. It is a well-known glitch in the Cody system. Currently coming up to the pits, or the Subida da Boxes, and then of course I'm not even going to try and say the Portuguese for that, it's the Bleachers Corner. A lot of these corners, I love the names when you translate them from Portuguese to English. Some amazing little name corners in here, of course. The one you mentioned earlier on, Juncao, or Junction. You've got Coffee up to the pits, Bleach Dive, Duckspills, the Little Pine Tree, almost a bit reminiscent of our own little boom piers. Jacob crosses the line for his first lap on the mediums, a 110.1, sorry. I expect that to be a sort of gauge lap and maybe going again straight after that. But yeah, some amazing corner names. Little Orange, that's my favourite, to be fair, just the name alone.
I like Retro Posture because it's easy to remember, and John Salper. We've got Pyro coming on a lap time. He's improved by almost 2 tenths in the first sector, so he's up already as he makes his way towards the fast right-hander here. Flick it in, and he hits the inside curve this time. And this is where he went wide the last time. Hooks it in very nicely, takes all the curve which you want to do. This one as well, just hook that, stay on that curve, but don't lose traction because many people have done that before. And open up this corner here, kiss the inside, go back to the left-hand side, on the throttle immediately as he exits the corner. Doesn't suffer understeer, and look at this, 9 tenths already, so a big improvement there already from Pyro. He's on a brand new set of the soft compound tyre according to this tyre graphic, so he's already he's used one more than he would have wanted in Q3. But anyways, coming here to the line, and it's going to be a 6.7. He goes provisional, so that's a fantastic lap time from Pyro, beating P's by a few hundreds, 1800s, so that's a very good lap time from him.
I think his first lap time must have been on the mediums just to get that 1.1 second gap. Unless, of course, his first lap was on an old set of softs or was just an absolute stinker with a few mistakes. It's very unlikely he gained all that time. Marty still on the mediums. He's looking to doing a little bit of warm-up here. Currently on a 7.7. He will be the next to start a lap. Actually, no, it will be Nathan. I believe he's on a lap that is invalidated, so expect him to go again. Yes, he will, so keep an eye out for them. Next to set a valid lap, though, it won't be Jaime. He's in an out lap. Will it be Ferg? It will be Ferg, and look at this. The toe coming back into action here. He's going to get a toe off Andreas, the sister Alpine in front of him. Both of them with that DRS open just to get the maximum sort of speed and toe, and he goes third with a 106.832. 400s of P's, 600s of Pyro. Nothing separating these guys here. That is literally, you may think, oh, you know, there's a good little gap between them. That is literally the difference between breaking half a tenth of a second later or accelerating slightly earlier. It is margins of the finest margins here in Brazil that separate the very good from the extremely good.
Big Raw Gamer out of sync there, down in P15, got his work cut out. He's currently in the pit lane. I think he made a mistake on that last lap. He's done one lap on those tyres already. I presume he's validated, but sadly for him, he's down in P15 and needs to get a lap time on the board to ensure his safety into Q2. So his teammate currently at the top of the tables, and Steve down there in P15 needs to get a lap on. But yeah, out of all the races we've had this season, it's quite strange to see a slipstream here because it's a short track, obviously, not a long straight. The slipstream does gain you about 1 or 2 tenths, but I would have thought they'd done it at other tracks like Monza, USA. I think people have already done it, but we didn't see a lot of it in those races, and we've seen it here in Brazil from both AlphaTauris there, who are sadly knocked, or one of them's knocked out, and one of them's in just in P14. Relentless Nathan's on another lap down there. He's currently 300s up in that first sector, so currently down in P5. He's done 2 laps, it says, on these tyres, this tyre is 2 laps old, so quite curious there. His best lap is 1 lap old tyres, so interesting to see about there on another set of soft compound tyres.
Yeah, a lot of variety in the age of the tyres here, of course. Where it isn't a huge issue, it is more about getting the right temperature here. So you do expect to see a few different age tyres from the guys throughout these sessions here, especially when they're trying to maximise things. Sometimes it is, it is expected to see a couple of laps just to get wound in. As Nathan goes, there we have it, a 106.4. That's what we expected the minimum, or the maximum, sorry, pole time to be. And we've already reached that here in Q2, so expect that to jump up even higher. Andreas, I believe, is about to finish his lap. He goes P2 with a 106.83. We saw him getting the tow from Ferg, and just touching back on what you were saying earlier on, I wonder if it is a case, it is such a short circuit that the amount of a tenth or so can make such a big difference. And speaking of a big difference, Relentless Mark back up into P2. Of course, that's where he qualified last season in Q3, missing out on pole very, very slightly, but a 106.65 sees him go P2 in this Q3 session. I'm trying to figure out who's next on a lap. Jeroen is about to start a lap. Liam is the next to finish his lap. 7 tenths up in his time as it stands right now, but expect that to improve even more. Crossing up to the line, it is a 106.851, just inside that top 10 and no more. Look at that gap though, from about Pyro in P3 all the way down to Nathan in P9. 2 and a bit tenths. This is about to get cagey.
On Leo's lap, he made a slight mistake coming out of Junsao. He hit that inside curve and lost the rear slightly, so I dare say he lost a bit of time. So he could have been up the order a bit more if he didn't make that mistake, possibly into P4 or 5. But yeah, in P7, he'll be looking over his shoulders because we've still got people to set the lap times, such as Rudy down in P10, Jeroen in P11, who's converted over to the soft compound tyres. Larkin is also on the softs. He set his best lap time on the mediums. Marty is currently on a lap. He did his best lap on the mediums. AJ, who's going to be on a lap soon as well, and Seaboard Gamer, who hasn't got a time on the board, so he'll be looking over his shoulder as we've got plenty more improvements. But interestingly, Nathan's done his best lap time with 3-lap old soft compound tyres, so that's a 6.4 with 3-lap old softs. What can he do with a brand new set in Q2 with a track evolution kicking in as well? So it'll be very interesting to see how close we're to get to 6.0. It would be fantastic if he can do that. But we've got Jeroen on a lap time. Just want to see who's closest to the line out of all of them. Liam's in the pit lane, so I think that's his last attempt because I don't think he's got enough time to go back out there. Nathan JB then coming towards Junsao. Didn't see his middle sector, but he's currently in P9. He's on the verge of being knocked out, along with Rudy, who's on a lap time. 500 improvement from the first sector for Rudy down in P10 as we go on board with Nathan then as he makes his way towards the line. It's going to be a 6.8 and he pops himself into P5. And let's see then, where's Rudy? 4 tenths in the middle sector, so he could have popped himself up the pecking order, but he's currently in the drop zone, but that'll improve if he doesn't make an invalidation or mistake on this lap. But here he goes then, towards the line he goes. It's a 6.9. Oh, P10. It's P10. That's not good enough. He's been knocked out.
He's knocked out by Seeb setting his first lap time. Just caught that at the end of 106.717. Not bad putting him on the board next to, just in front of his teammate, in fact. that should see him safe at this late stage, although nothing is a certainty. Look at the amount of cars we have in track out at this stage, sorry. I believe it is 11 cars still available to go out track, and 10 of them out on the track at the moment. Of course, 4 retired. Liam Carrick, P10 at the moment. He is right in the danger zone, not able to set another lap time in. He will be one praying for a mistake or two from the guys still out setting lap times. Pease, Mark and Nathan all retired, but Pease dripping closer and closer to that drop zone, as I believe it was Ferg, or was it Andreas setting a lap time there, jumping up the order a little bit. Marty on a lap, running up to the line. It is going to be an in lap from him, and that will be curtains for his qualifying session. Rudy, I believe, 2 in a similar spot. So who is it on a lap? I believe Jacob AJ Wuhan is not on a lap either. Is Jaime on a lap? He is slightly up in his time here. He could be the one to knock Liam out of the top 10, and he is. P8 at the moment. All eyes on XL Larkin then, and the battle between him and Andreas for that final top 10 spot, but it's looking as if it will just go to Andreas Larkin a few seconds down his time, and I believe this is going to be an in-lap into the pits here.
Oh, that slight mistake from Liam there just cost him, because he could have been up there. Lost about a tenth coming out of that Johnstown corner, so sadly for him, he's in P11, but he's in a prime position to put on a brand new set of the medium compound tyres outside the top 11. But everybody in the top 10 then, in fact everybody on the track, set their best lap on the soft compound tyres, so nobody making it through on the medium compound tyres. We've got Seaval Game and P4 did a fantastic job despite being under pressure there from not spending a lot of time making a few mistakes, but he's up there in P4 along with his teammate then, so it's looking good for the 2 McLarens there. And Relentless Nathan then with a 6.4. Let's see what he could do in the race. I mean, in the Q3 yet to come. And they could do about 3 or 4 laps, because this circuit being very short, very easy to make a mistake around here as well. So you can come back in the pit lane on a brand new set of softs, or the tyre life being good around here, you can, if you make a mistake on one of your laps, you can go for another one. So we'll see then in Q3.
Absolutely. Again, it isn't one of those circuits that you can really do a back-to-back lap just with those heat. Really is a matter of a cool-down lap or 2 quick out laps. But look at those times there on the left-hand side. Look at, disregard Nathan. A 106.4. Very, very solid lap time. Nearly 2 tenths ahead of his next nearest competitor, Relentless Mark. But from Mark all the way down to P15, there's nothing between it, We're saying there, nearly 2 tenths between Mark and Nathan. But after that, 400s, 400s, 2.5 hundredths, 2.5 hundredths, 300s, 100th, 200s, 200s, not even 200s, sorry, not even 100th, another 200s, another 300s, then a tenth, a tenth, a tenth. Very, very close gaps here. Very, very fine margins, and we've already seen this season in the race particularly, there's nothing separating these guys. It's very much a DRS train. It is nose to tail stuff. And I expect to see that even more on this circuit. A bit of DRS and a bit of closing down and making the overtaking opportunities when they come. But I think they may come far and a bit less far and few between this circuit than what we've seen previously. Just by how close the times can be between these guys. I think they could see some opportunistic moves in the race. But before we get to that, we have, of course, Q3. Now, we've got a special treat for you here tonight. Last time out in Q3, we've already spoke about how... I just realised I've had the constructors up at this whole time. Last time out, we had a very close Q3. We've talked already about how close the qualifying has. So let's have a look at what happened last time. Here's a little clip. I hope there is no dodgy audio in this. We've already broke the times here. You can see Mark on his final lap time. You will hear him in the background, a very, very confident man. Back into Q3 again. And looking to get it. He thinks he's got the Q1 in the bag. And he misses out by 14. Just showing how tight this is. Beautiful lap there from Berg as well. That's, sorry, I'll be honest with you folks, that was partly just to prove a point about how close and how deceiving it can be thinking you're improving by so much, but when you need to improve by just a little bit more, to make the time between and how much the gaps matter. It was also just a chance to have a little laugh at Mark's expense. We love him, really. Of course. Answer to the question I asked earlier on in the comments, who was our tier 1 driver dancing on the startup? It was Relentless Jeroen, and then we had Relentless Mark. So, you know, plenty of fun to be had here. And speaking of Mark, he's going to be the first to set a lap time here on Q3.
Yeah, let's see how he takes it then. So, approaching the line about 325 kilometers an hour. Braking at the 50-meter board, going down to third gear. Misses, don't really take that curve on the entry, but he does for this one and for this one as well. Take the tightest line through this corner here, turn 3. DRS with the retropost then as we make our way down to the first sector. This first sector is going to be a 16.5, decent first sector for him. Breaks the 50-meter board, hits the inside curve, but don't take much of it, neither does the outside curve. Takes the tightest line through here as third gets out of the way. As we make our way into the fast right hand to flick it in. Don't drift out too wide through here. I'm immediately coming into a slow speed corner then, so scrub off all the speed on the entry. And yeah, don't drift out too wide. A bit of distraction there from Jeroen Visser, and a bit of a wobble movement from the car there. Hesitant into this corner here. Gets back in the power immediately. Downhill section. Coming into John Sao. 50.2. Hits the inside curve here. Back in the power immediately. Coming up the hill out of John Sao. Hit the tightest line through here. Go all the way to the left. And let's see then how tight he will take it through here. All the way to the left next to the pit wall. And his first lap time is going to be a 6.7 for him. And yeah, we'll just wait for the other people. As Seavor Gamer goes P2 with a 6.9. Williams crosses the line to start his lap. Alpine crosses the line now to start his lap. McLaren of Pyro goes up into pole with a 6.6 car. And Aston Martin of Nathan then makes his way towards the line. It's going to be a 6.9 for him. Mercedes of Pease goes up to a 6.5. That's a 10th away from what Nathan did. Relentless Nathan in P9. So we'll just wait what Nathan does. I think he's next across the line. His middle sector is a 50.1 then. Makes his way towards Josal. A bit of movement there from the back end, hitting that curb there. So might have lost a bit of time, but we'll see then. It goes purple with a 50.1. That's the best middle sector I've seen so far. Making our way towards the line. DRS wide open. And this lap time is going to be a 6.4. And he goes pole.
Very solid lap time again. The only driver to get under the 6.5s, and he's done it twice, 2 sessions in a row. Sieb isn't on a lap. He will next to cross the line. I believe the next on a lap will be Relentless Jeroen. A 50.2, so about a 10th off Nathan's time at the moment. Crossing up to the line, tight again to that pit wall, minimising the length he's got to travel. It is a 106.7 on his first Q3 lap. No, not Jaime, it'll be Mark again. Crossing a lap, a cool down lap for him. He's going on a second run on those tyres. Ferg getting a lap in. Must have been invalid because he was behind Andreas there, getting a little bit of a slipstream. Jaime doing his first lap, a 106.840, and a few of the cars trundling into the pits after doing their initial laps to try and get a fresh set of tyres on, I'd imagine, if they have them, or to just cool down. Take a break, let a bit of track evolution come into effect, and then go out again. Of course, these guys all in here, starting on the softs, but as part of the deal for getting into Q3, they get a brand new set of soft tyres that they can only use in this session. So at least every one of these drivers will have at least one new set of softs to use in this session. A lot of them you'll be using an older set for their initial runs, and then using the fresh set towards the end. Mark is on another flyer, slightly down in his time, about 500s, running up to the start sprint straight and deciding to just bail into the pits. Obviously not going to improve there. Ferg is going to set a lap, and it will be a 106.9. Of course, 2 laps in, invalidating his first. Andreas, his teammate, a 111.6. So I wonder if there must have been a little mistake there, or if that was just another double out lap we're seeing potentially. Jaime dives into the pits. And now we're getting to the quiet stage of this qualifying, Jamie. This will be where the guys will be sitting, waiting, like we see in the real F1. There'll be a rush last minute to get the final laps in before the time expires.
Yeah, while all that's happening in the pit lane, Seagull Game will have a nice view ahead of him because Relentless Nathan will be heading back in the pit lane as Zeeb can have the track all to himself, has done a 6.9. He could be one of those drivers, like you said, having the one set of softs available in this last Q3 session and using the older set on his first lap. So here's Seagull Game, they're making his way towards the first corner. They're breaking at the 50-meter ball. Let's see how he hooks up this first corner. Doesn't really hook the inside, might compromise him into the second corner and the third corner as well. Really important, pivotal to get to turn 1 right because it leads you up to turn 2 and turn 3 immediately. On the retroposter there, let's see how his first sector is in comparison to his last. A few hundred down in that first sector, flicks it in, hits the inside curb, uses all of the track on the exit, and let's see there, makes his way towards the fast 2 right-handers here. Double right-hander hits the inside curve for this one, and I think you want to avoid this one as well because it will spin the car around. It's in the slow speed corner, it's taking a lot of curb on the entry, and this one as well down in second gear, then immediately up into fourth to reduce that traction and open up this one then to get a really good run out of this exit as well. Traction is pivotal around here as well. Make sure you don't understeer wide because there'll be a lot of load and energy into these tyres. 50.2 in that middle set, added 10th up, almost 2. So let's see how he manages out of Junsao, gets a really good run up out of Junsao, good exit, which will help him all the way on this straight. DRS enabled then, and let's see where Seagull Gamer can place that McLaren, and it's going to be a 6.7 in P6. So I think it's slower than what he did in Q2. He was up there in P4. But 4 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. What will he do? Does he have another brand new set of softs? Not quite sure. Will he go for another run? Do the flying lap, cool down the flying lap? He has the tire temperature for that. It looks like he's got the fuel for that as well. Judging by the way the car light is not flashing. So we'll see what Seagull Gamer does. Can he improve? Andreas is making his way towards the line, and let's see what lap time he can do. It's going to be a 6.8, and he goes P7 ahead of Jaime, Nathan, and Berg.
Red light flashing there on the fuel. I wonder if there was maybe a little issue with that there. He was on a 50.3, so about 2/10 off what we saw Nathan do for his 6.4. So you'd expect him to be around the high 6s, low 7s. So maybe just run out of fuel as they approach the line. Speaking of Nathan, he's about to start his next flying lap. I think it'd be rude if we didn't get a little on-board lap with him. He's been the man to beat in this qualifying all session long, effectively. Really showing the pace that he has got in the tank. Not had the best start to the season like we say, but when you've got pace like this and ability like we know he has in his locker, you expect him to come good at some point, and it seems to be his week this week so far in qualifying. Run down to turn 4, down to 4th gear, taking as much as that curb on entry and exit as you can. Really having to abuse the curbs here on this track. It is one of the secrets to getting the most out of your time. Not quite using too much on that first entry, but keeping it nice and tidy, running out wide. Short shifting, or quickly shifting all the way down to second, holding it in third and up to fourth. You might see some drivers dipping down to second down there, but Nathan confident keeping it in third and fourth, allowing him to get on the power a lot earlier. Around the final, big left-hander, I suppose you could call it, and then this short down into the... Oh, and it is a run wide. Oof. Course.
I don't think he can do back-to-back laps because he put a lot of temperature and energy into those tyres. So doing a back-to-back lap, he will suffer on his second lap. So I think it's a case of push, cool down, and push. I think Andreas, though, he's done 3 laps on his set of soft compound tyres, so he could be one of those as well, not having 2 sets of fresh sets where everybody else could have them. And Mark has got up into P2 with a 6.5, so he's on the front row along with Relentless Nathan there. So good lap time for him, but we await the laps of Pease, Javoon, Seeb, and Pyro. Pyro has invalidated in that first sector, so he's been on the back foot, but Javoon Vizza is about to start his flying lap. 2 minutes and 10 seconds left to go then. Misses the first corner and he bails out immediately. So that first corner already compromising there. It can be quite difficult as well. So Javoon Vizza has got enough time to go around for another lap, but he didn't use too much of the tyre wear either. You can see him braking and accelerating, probably wondering why he's doing that. You'll see a lot of drivers braking and accelerating. I've also experienced this as well, because they want to burn off the fuel. That's the way to burn off the fuel in this game, braking and accelerating at the same time. And you see a lot of people do that on the safety car as well to burn that fuel off. So that's why a lot of people are doing it.
Yeah, third gear, full throttle, half brake. That's what I know to be the best way to burn fuel. Just have to be careful when you're trying to stop doing it. Make sure you take the foot off the right pedal before you try and go again. I did that very recently under safety car and managed to spin myself into the wall. So, of course, these guys a bit more knowledgeable than I do see so myself. so expect them to know a bit better. Nathan there we caught on board. He was on for a good lap, but then losing a little bit of the back end through that middle sector and choosing to back out of it. Cooling down those tyres, of course, because now if you start a lap, you will not have enough time to finish another lap after that. So it really is do or die time. Next to cross the line, I believe it will be Jeroen. He is down in his time. He is on a cool lap, about to start his final lap. Jaime next to cross the line on his outlap, so up for his final run. Then it will be Andreas again on his outlap. What have you spotted, Jamie?
A snap of oversteer for Jeroen Visser coming out of turn 2. They're taking a lot of curve, which is supposed to do, but the back end not agreeing with it, but he still goes quicker in the first sector. Elsewhere, Pyro as well, invalidated at turn number 4. Turn number 4, the Retroposter took too much curb, went out wide and exceeded track limits. So he's going for his last flying lap as Nathan sets the bar again, raises the bar again, and he goes a 6.3. Fantastic lap time there from Relentless Nathan there, just on form like you said. So who could beat it? C4 Gamer has popped that McLaren up into P3. What a fantastic live at Mark! Takes pole away with a 6.3. He's finally got his wish from last year.
What's that? It is provisional pole position, baby, but Relentless Jeroen, combining the two words there together. He's about to approach the line. Can he take it away from his esports teammate? He can. Not only a 6.5 from him, worse than he was doing in practice. He'll be disappointed with that. Jaime dropping into the pits. Andreas next to approach the line. Can he improve from his provisional P7 at the moment? A 168 his best. Crosses the line. A 16776. Can only get up to a maximum of P7. Pyro next. He's invalidated, so he can't improve. It will be P6 at best for him. Ferg, the next to cross the line, followed closely by Nathan. Ferg going up to P6. Nathan going up to P9. And the next will be Seb as he comes into the pits. And all that leaves is Relentless Nathan, who we've seen at the start, bailed out of his final lap. And a season later, a season after, it is, what's that? It's pole position, baby, for Relentless Mark.
He finally got it. Fantastic for him. Got it, pulled it out of the bag at the very last minute. His best lap time. He did 3 laps on those soft compound tyres, like Nathan as well down in P2. Also, Pyro invalidated on his last attempts. He was up, but sadly, he did the same thing as last time, just got a bit too wide. And Ferg up into P6 as well. He did a fantastic job, both out P to P6 and P8. C4 Gamer in P4. Really good job from him. He looks like he was struggling early on in the session, but managed to regain his form and went up to P4. So this is a really interesting grid there. Mark on pole position, and let's see what he could do in the race. I can't wait for this race to happen.
Absolutely plenty of action and excitement to come in the next 45 minutes or so. Of course, pole position, as good as it sounds, not always the best. I believe P2 is actually maybe a bit better position for that run down into turn 1. But all it takes is Mark to get a good start off the line and see him get through the CNSs, and away he goes. Does take pole position though, the Alfa Romeo driver off Mark by 15 thousandths off of Nathan in the Red Bull. P's shortly behind, by 0.114 off the top step, with Seb very close behind him, as is Jeroen, Ferg, Pyro, Anjin, or Andreas, as we should say, because I think we butchered his name enough after 5 rounds. Nathan and Jaime round off your top 10 with identical times. Nathan obviously sitting at first, gets the better position in P9 over Jaime. I believe that's how it happened, or whether there is, I know there is sometimes an unseen integer in this game. The game actually tricks to 4 numbers after the second, but it's unseeable, that 4th integer, and as such it is just based on which is lower. But that just shows you how tight the times are when we've had 2 people in 9 and 10. For a certain Mr. Danny Mac, Mr. Fandango would say, it's tight as toenails out there, and it's going to be an amazing race, I'm sure. But the drivers loading into the grid, of course, the top 10 all going to be forced to start on the softs. What will the rear 10 do? I suspect anything other than mediums or softs will be a bit of a steward's inquiry here, pun intended. The hard's not really a tyre you want to touch around here. Not so much because they're overheating or their lack of grip, just the speed difference, the difference between the tyre compounds here. It's such a short track, and it's so easy to get tyre temperature and tyres up to heat and get a nice bit of grip within a few laps. You don't need the weight so much for the tyres to get up to speed, but that applies to both the softs and the hards. You can start hammering lap times pretty much a quarter of a lap from when you come out of the pits here. So expect to see a mix of mediums, maybe a few of them at the back going for softs. But of course the rest of the fray, I believe I have had insider info from one of the drivers on the grid saying that it's going to be a fully dry race. No threat of rain or even a spit. But of course, they only get an approximate data. Nobody can tell what the weather's going to do. We've known that. We've seen that recently. If you live in the UK, it's very much spit and shine and absolutely torrential rain 1 second to...
Heavy winds as well.
Oh, heavy winds indeed, Jamie. It's very unpredictable, and the same can happen here. But expect the unexpected. Safety cars, virtual safety cars. Could we see a red flag? I hope not, but it's not out of the question.
If you're 5'5" like me and Scott, don't go out the window, it'll blow you away.
Make sure you've got some heavy shoes on, maybe some steel toe caps or something. The pit stop strategy there for the guys in the softs. A one stop from the softs to the hards. Ignore that. Those of you that race or have any knowledge of the game will know that Jeff is a little bit of a liar. But there's our tyres. The top 10 all on the softs. The rear 10 all on the mediums. Except for the little tree in P18. He's choosing to follow his brethren in the top 10 and goes for a set of softs. So expect him to be a little bit razy in that backpack through the first part of the track. The softs, expect them to go anywhere between about 10-11 laps at the earliest to as far as about lap 15-16 before they're forced into a pit stop. On the contrary with that, the mediums, anywhere from about, say, lap 20, you could expect them to pit, I would say. It depends, of course, how comfortable they feel on each tyre. Of course, the softs, a lot better on the grip, but a lot more prone to overheating, so it is really finding a nice balance. And I believe, Jamie, this is going to be the quickest formation lap we've ever had.
Yeah, already at the end of the last sector is Mark, followed by Mr. BT down in P20. He's got all the tyres available to him. He can use whatever tyres he wants, 3 or 4 sets of softs. He's been disqualified at qualifying, but head Bob here then might as well go for a different strategy because everybody is on the same tyres except him in the bottom half. So he's going for a much aggressive strategy. His job is to get a really good start and try and get up to P11 and behind those other fellow soft runners. So let's see what he can do during the race then. Is his race pace good in comparison to his quality pace? Because his quality pace has been knocked out Q1 a few times, sadly for him. So really hope he has a good race from the little tree down in P18. And all the drivers then line up for the grid as Mr. BT then will have nice warm medium compound tyres as he slots into P20. So it'll be a phenomenal race, I hope. Will Nathan go down the inside? Will Mark get a good start off the line and cover the inside line? That's his job. If he can get a good start, cover the inside line, take track position into turn 1, can Nathan set him up into turn 4 and get a good slipstream? But here, 4 lights, 5 lights, and we are underway for round 5. Looks like Total P's got a good launch initially. In fact, Mark's compromised. He's going to go into 3 wide. He's got a big crash in the background. That's Pyro. As Nathan goes down the inside into turn 1. He goes off the track, does Nathan. Needs to be careful though. As Mark. So this happened to Mark. He's out of shape coming out of turn 3. And now he's got C4 Gamer, Giroux visitors. Well, we'll see Vogue Gamer go down the inside. It looks like Mark slowed down to give the position to Total P's. I'm not quite sure why, but Relentless Nathan takes the lead by going down the inside ahead of Total P's. Mark in P3 ahead of Seeb. Pyro, he looks like he had traction issues coming out of the initial phase of that start, and he dropped it down into P20 already. Hopefully he hasn't got any for wind damage. He's down there in P20 at the moment. Yes, he has lost all of it as we've got changes going on throughout the midfield. Head Bob here up into P13 from P18, getting past Rudy on those medium compound tyres. So he's made up 5 places already, as the biggest loser already is Pyro, dropping all the way down to P20. So that's a shame for him. Hoping for a safety car at least. He's going to go on the hard compound tyres and see what he can do. But Relentless Nathan taking the lead initially after Mark got a bad start, and Pease looks like he got a really good start tonight, really good much, but could go 3 wide. He was too wise to make it 3 wide, otherwise there would be contact, and he settled into P2.
Yeah, I think you're bang on with what happened there at the start. Pyro getting a little bit of loss of traction under the start, and seems to have collected Jime. He's dropped down quite a little bit there as well. Pharaoh Fury picking up damage, I would assume, as well, pitting very, very early. But what a start from Boompe, and what a start from Mark. Two very top and tail starts. Boompe up 6 already on those softs, showing the pace advantage if they have. And Mark dropping 2 from first to third, and looking a little bit ropey on this opening lap. Interesting, of the pitters, Marty, Relentless Pharaoh Fury, and it's Pyro, different compound tyres, and it seems Marty just coming out with the pit. I believe that's a crash in the pit lane.
Did he hit the wall? Because it's a very tight pit lane exit. There's walls surrounding you, so you can be very careful going out the pit lane. Was he on the hard compound tyres when he came out the pits? I presume so. Yes.
Yes.
So we could have lost grip coming out of those tyres. Probably pushed a bit too early while the hards were just getting up to temperature. So virtual safety car just to slow things down, as Pharaoh Fury's on a brand new set of softs and Pyro's on the medium compound tyres. So let's see what happens to them. But the virtual safety car is out to slow things down, as DRS is enabled after the virtual safety car. Mr. BT down in P15, he got ahead of Steiny into turn 4. They were side by side. Mr. BT went down the inside and got the move done. So already he's made 5 places. Good job for him as well. Mr. Hebobia, so he made 6 places off the start, up into P12. Relentless Walter from P16 to P11. Let's see what Walter could do already to P11 and the medium compound tyres. Has he got the race pace? Let's see if he can claw his way back through the field and try and maintain that championship lead.
Yeah, he's got a lot of ground. His main competitor, Jeroen, there, I believe 4 points separating them. I believe is it Jeroen on top, 4 points ahead of Wouter?
Jeroen is ahead of Wouter, but Wouter just needs to try and reduce that many points or try and get ahead on those medium compound tyres. But he's in the DRS train so far. Virtual safety car, this is quite a long virtual safety car indeed. It's not a full safety car because it sometimes can switch over to virtual to full. But here he goes then. Who's been caught napping on the restart? Looks like everybody's away nice and evenly. So total P's there. Mark's already dropped out of that 1 second range of DRS. So he have to claw his way back in, try and use that ERS to just try and get his way back in there. But Total P's has DRS then behind Relentless Nathan, but too far back to make any movement. Larkin has got past Liam. Liam's under pressure then. Looks like he's got a bad virtual safety car restart as Nathan gets ahead of Liam for P9. Too far back to make a move on P8 for Larkin then. So it looks like Liam's lost 2 places on 1 straight then.
Yeah, bad exit from that sort of penultimate corner from Liam. He's now under pressure from Wouter. Both of these guys on the medium, both of them with DRS. Wouter choosing to go for the outside here into turn 4. The gap closing out, and he has to sort of back out on the exit, but really putting the blowtorch to the back of that Red Bull's gearbox. Really expect him to be moving up the field. We know Wouter, of course, poor qualifying from him, really poor qualifying by his standards, but his race pace, his consistency, that's why he's champion. Expect him to rise up through this field throughout this 36 lap race. 4 of them about to be finished. Very, very going to be quick running, you know, just over a 1, maybe about a 1:15, I believe. What's the fastest lap times there? I'm not too sure. But it is very much, it's, you know, about a 1:15, I am right, 1:14 second lap time. Down into the 1:08, so even quicker than that. Although you think 36 laps, you know, this is going to fly by, folks. There's going to be plenty of action in this DRS trains as Larkin loses out to Nathan down into the Sen S's. Nathan, of course, on those softs, you expect a little bit of grip advantage, and of course having the benefit of DRS, but that should switch back to Larkin's favour here on the run down to turn 4. He doesn't have DRS for some reason. I'm not quite sure why that is the case unless they were side by side through the detection point. If you are too close together, of course you won't get it. But here comes Wouter on the inside of 4 and 5. Now the long right-hander, Liam on the inside, Wouter on the outside. Both of them keeping it nice and respectful, leaving space for each other into the middle sector. The outside for Wouter turns to the inside again. A little bit of touching, but nothing major, nothing anything untoward. And Wouter still not able to get by him. Still side by side. They've been about half a lap here through the long left-hander down to what is essentially the penultimate corner. And Wouter eventually gets that move done. But that gap to the cars in front has widened as a result of that. And now Liam looking very vulnerable to Boompe, the little tree on the run down to turn 1. He will have DRS as will Boompi, and Valter here could maybe lose out to the two of them. Of course, Boompi on those softs going to get a really good exit through the CNSs here, and might get a good run on the both of them down to turn 4.
Walter lost DRS connection towards Larkin as those two were battling in the middle sector. They did not have DRS, or one of them did, which is Walter. Liam was right behind, so we could retake P10 away. So his job. In fact, Walter goes around the outside of Liam into turn 4. They go side by side yet again. Got to be careful not to lose too much time because they'll lose that DRS connection. As Walter has got the move made this time, still side by side. Walter has the inside line and track position. Got head bomb here lurking in the background, but it's too tight to go through there. You don't want to make contact, and it has to stay behind in P12 then. And so back at the front, looks like Mark 2 seconds away from Piers and Nathan. So his race pace so far at this very early stage of the race looks like he's just dropping, and he's a DRS provider to the guys behind. So I wonder what's going on there. Unless Total Piers and Nathan's just got the pure pace to go at it. But this is a pad track, I think, as well, and the traction suits them as well. But Piers is right behind Nathan. When will he make his move? Looks like it's going to be a straight battle between these two, unless Mark can close in as well. He's got C4 Gamer, who's hanging in there for P4, Javoon in P5 Ferg, and Andreas in P7, and Nathan dropping, and he's under pressure from Larkin. He's one of those drivers as well who got caught up in that fight where he didn't want to be, as Liam re-overtakes Walter into turn 1, so not making it easy for any of them, and Liam's got the DRS to protect himself from Walter, and there goes Head Bompia, taking advantage on those soft compound tyres. Down the inside he goes. He has the inside line. Walter stick on the outside, got his put on the curb there, so he can't get back on the throttle as he would have wanted to earlier, and he's down in P12 there. So good battles going on to midfield there, but it's cost him a lot of time. When you fight early this stage of the race, you lose your DRS connection. It's very hard to catch back up as well, because you've got the guys behind to worry about them rather pursuing in front. So these guys had a really good battle, but at the same time it's just costing them. Same with Nathan and Larkin as well, those two fighting. It's lost Nathan DRS towards Andreas, as Andreas is the last DRS behind Mark as well. So we've got our own separate battles going on here in the whole field.
Yeah, normally you wait till after the first pit stop for the train to sort of separate out a little bit, but we're seeing it already after eight laps already. Well, 7 laps completed, I suppose. Lap 8 it will be, or will it be 8 laps completed? No, it won't, of course. That's the leader's lap time in the top left. But that battle with Valter, just going back to that there quickly, Valter losing it on turn 2 on exit, a little half spin, junting the car out wide on the left hand side, and that just let Liam get by while still having the DRS, and now he's starting to lose touch with Boompi and Liam in front. So not the weekend we expect from the champion, and in fact he's under pressure from Rudy and AJ Wuhan behind. They are just right hooked into that gearbox, and as we see further up in front, Liam and Boompi almost going side by side as Boompi gets in front of Liam ahead. Nice little battles going all throughout the field here, nice little trains here and there, plenty of action throughout the field. We'd love to see this, but we do have yellow flags. That's Steiny.
That's a pass of Steiny.
I believe
it's not his first. It's not his first spin. He spun earlier in the race, so he's not having a good time out there. It is the German driver in the house, but sadly for him, then he has his second spin, and yeah, those tyres should be still in good shape on those mediums, so hopefully he can recover and get back there. But he's further down than he would have wanted to be behind Mr. BT. But looks like Liam then re-overtakes Head Bobbia for P10 of this race. What about Pease? Is he close enough? You can see Nathan derating the straight. So Pease has got a massive advantage because he saved the ERS, and Nathan will be a sitting duck on that straight because it's very hard to save ERS around here. And if you're the car behind, you can just sit behind. We've got moves going on for Nathan down there. He re-overtakes Larkin. Head Bobbia gets past Liam Karag for P10. So it's very important for Head Bobbia to capitalise on those soft compound tyres. He's got one medium runner left ahead of him who's currently fighting Nathan. Those two having a good battle for P8. But yeah, looks like Nathan there will be under pressure from the lack of ERS from Pease.
I wonder if that's why the gap is so huge from Pease to Mark Nathan. Of course, you can regain a lot of ERS through the second sector, but if Nathan's been pushing, deploying that battery a lot, maybe pushing out ahead of Mark, and Pease able to sit in that slipstream, and Nathan is into the pits, lap 8, that's a very early pit stop by all accounts, I would say. Maybe got confidence on those medium stretch at the end, or is he going for a 2-stop? 2-stop I would say is definitely the slower strategy, but if he has got pace, maybe it's worthwhile. Maybe he's going for a medium, hoping for a late safety car to pull him in, but I suspect that's why we've seen Pease jump out such a huge gap. He's been able to sit in that DARS of Nathan. Nathan using that ERS to burn away from the pack ahead. P's just sitting there, getting the slipstream, getting the DRS, and those two have stretched out ahead. Now P's will be out there on his own. Mark, though, still sitting quite low in ERS himself, actually, so maybe that's not been the case. Maybe it is Mark just struggling. But yeah, again, the guys behind not able to overtake, even with that DRS assistance, so a lot going on here, a lot to think about, a lot at play. Whereas Nathan came out on the pit stops, down in 16th. A little bit of fresh air, 2.6, 2.7 seconds, so maybe going for an amazing undercut here. A very, very big undercut, I must admit, but an undercut nonetheless.
Yeah, very early pit stop, like you said. It's definitely a one-stop. You don't want to be doing a two-stop because otherwise you might as well be in the same strategy as the others. Mark's going in the pit lane as well, so that's a very early pit stop, just responding to what other people do there. So he's going to go on the medium compound tire. Seaboard Gamer will take second place away, but yeah, we'll see some very early pit stops. I think pit stops should be happening around lap 14, 15 or 16, the ideal strategy, just to keep those mediums intact towards the end. So it'll be very interesting to see how Nathan plays this out down in P15. Mark will rejoin in some good traffic, good clean air as well. So we'll see where he rejoins down. And Giants retired. That caused a safety car, ruined people's races. If that does cause a safety car, and it is a safety car, it's potentially ruined Nathan's and Mark's strategy. So total P's there will be pitted for a brand new set of mediums, and he will stay out in P1. I think people like Larkin and Liam, they don't want the safety car to come out that early. It's benefited Bompier for sure, because Liam and Larkin will have to go on, if they're going to pit, they'll have to go on the hard compound tyres. They don't want to be doing a two-stop because that is the slowest strategy around here. So I think they'll stay out and they'll go from mediums to softs towards the end. So it's not helped Nathan or Mark whatsoever. So Steve-World Gamer in P2 will pit. And people like Valfiori, Steiny, Pyro, who we see struggle, they'll rejoin the group and see what they can do for a second chance in this race. So is anybody going to double stack? You can see Andreas there. He's 5 seconds behind Ferg. So he's doing a Valtteri Bottas in Saudi Arabia, just backing off because he doesn't want to double stack. And I think it's legal because you didn't see anyone penalised in Saudi Arabia back then. So I think you can do it just as long as you don't hold them all the time. So as expected, Larkin goes through on those mediums. Is anybody else on those mediums going to stay out? Where's Liam's pitted, but what tyres is he going to go to? He's going to go to the soft compound tyres. So can he go to the end on those? 24 laps is a stretch. Those safety car, 20 laps. He could do it, but their tyres will become towards the end. So we could be watching out for tyre wear. But Nathan then hasn't lost too much. He rejoins in P3, but where's Mark? Rejoins down in P6. So Mark's lost essentially 2 positions if you cancel Larkin out.
Quite a few drivers, BT and Jacob, AJ Wuhan, pitting for the softs from those mediums. So a few drivers going for it. Valtor as well. I don't see them stretching like you say. 24 laps, -2 for the safety car, roughly 20 laps. The tyres are going to be screaming, but whether they're gambling a little bit, maybe you're down in them lower positions. The strategy's already out the window here with this early safety car. Maybe gambling it, just hoping for a later VCS or safety car. Now, a lot of you at home might be thinking, surely the softs are better than the mediums. Yes, you've got the pit again, but if you do lap after lap, you're going to be maybe 5-6 tenths quicker than the mediums every lap. You're going to build up that 20 to 25 second gap, but of course, that's in an ideal condition. These guys are going to have to be doing this in traffic, so to make the two-stop work, you've really got to be pacey, or you've got to be lucky, really. Interesting to see, though, the only people out on their original tyres, Steiny in 12 and XL Larkin in P11. Nathan not losing out as much as I suspected he would. P3 just slightly behind P, so effectively only losing out 2 pieces. Valtor in the pits, and BT and Jacob, this could be a big brain strategy from them here. Going on, doing 1 lap on the softs. They'll be able to go back on the medium. Done 2 sets of compounds, of course, here. Mediums will take them to the end, just about. That could be a huge decision from them there. Of course, they won't need to stop again. The tyres will be stretched, but similar to everybody else, and they don't need to worry about the pit stop, leaving only Liam Carragh on the softs and Rudy on the hards. Rudy easily to go to the end, and in fact, the last 6 laps or so, you expect him to be the quickest, but it's whether he can hold out and be in a prime position to take advantage of that towards the end. XL Larkin, though, the only man on his starting strategy along with Steiny. Steiny right in the middle of the pack there. Expect him to be very vulnerable and maybe cause a little bit of congestion and a little bit of chaos almost.
and I think he would have pitted because he's surrounded by people on a brand new set of whatever tyres they've gone for. So I think it's best if he should have pitted. But yeah, we'll see what he does in P11. Obviously, he'll go to the softs towards the end. But yeah, very clever strategy from Walter, BT, AJ, Wuhan, and possibly Pyro down in P18 as well. So because they've done more than one tyre compound, only doing one lap on the softs and going in on the meter. That counts as a different tyre strategy, of course. So a very big brave move from those guys there. They don't want to be doing the soft compound tyres, so don't have to worry about tyre wear like Liam. Liam's job is to get ahead of the field as quickly as he can, like Bompia did down in P12, and see what he could do towards the end. Will it have to be a two-stop? Can he make those soft tyres go to the end? If he does make those soft tyres go to the end, will they fall off the cliff and have everybody behind overtaking him? But Larkin leads then. Pease's job, he wants to get past Larkin as quickly as he can so he doesn't get held up by him too much. And look at Larkin, he's taking it all the way to the line like Max Verstappen did back in 2019. And off we go. Looks like Giroud Visser has a good restart. He's alongside C4 Gamer. Will Mark make it 3 wide? It's so close. And there's a bit of contact. Oh! Somebody spin? No, they didn't. I thought they did with the amount of contact. But Giroud Visser up into P4, Mark in P5. C4 Gamer has lost 2 places. And look at P's all over the back of Larkin. Will he go down the inside? No, he's not going to go down the inside. So Larkin maintains the lead as Sieb is overtaken as Liam Karag is on the grass there, essentially out of turn 4. So Sieb under massive pressure has lost 3 positions within about a few corners. So he's under pressure from Ferg now. Ferg around the outside. That's a good move, but has to go off the track. And Liam goes down the inside of Sieb. So C4 Gamer, I think he's got some wind damage because he had contact into turn 1. Yes, he has. He's suffered understeer, massive understeer. Here goes Liam down the inside of Alpine, of Ferg, sorry. Goes down the inside of Ferg, up into P7, so he's making big moves already. Battle Fury get ahead of Rudy. In fact, Rudy goes down the inside, they're side by side. You be careful, because it's very easy. Oh, more contact. Possibly touched him 3 times there. But Seagull Game will have to pick this lap because he's losing way too many positions. So what a chaotic restart there as he went 3 wide into turn 1. Mark's in the pits. Did he suffer from wind damage? I'm not quite sure. He did make contact with Nathan in P3 as they went 3 wide there. So Pease is right behind. He's alongside Larkin. They're side by side. Pease having the outside line, which converts into the inside line. He's side by side with Larkin. And here comes Nathan then. He's in the slipstream of Pease. Larkin's still there. He's not giving up this position. And they go into turn 4. Pease has the inside line. Well, Larkin's trying to stick it around the outside. No, he can't. Has to concede towards Nathan there. Nathan then has to get past Larkin as quickly as he can before Pease pulls out from Larkin's old tyre. So a lot happening there on the early part. But Mark, Speedwalk Gamer, Mr. BT in the pit lane in P18 there as well. So those guys not having a good start. Our pole sitter has had a terrific race, it must be said.
Yeah, not going the way for those 3 at the back, of course. We did see off the line. What a hectic restart, you know. A lot of guys going 3 wide at the front, 3 wide at the back. I believe we even seen a 4 wide further back in that middle sector after Liam made the move on Sieb, having that damage. It sort of caused a ripple effect and everybody just getting really bunched up and having a nice little battle, for the most part keeping it clean. But that gap, there was a 2.4 or so second gap from the top 4 back to Liam in 4th as Nathan goes down the inside of XL down into turn 1. Wouter getting past his teammate Steiny. But Liam on those softs and able to just drag along the guys behind him. And Liam looking very, very quick on this alternative strategy. If he can make this pay out, and especially if there's a later safety car here, particularly halfway between about lap 14 and lap 36. So what's that? That's about 22 laps. Anywhere about lap 25 would be optimum for him just to slap another set of softs on and really go for it. Of course, you expect a safety car about that. Battle Fury.
They go side by side into turn 7 now. They're still side by side. Foul Fury has the inside line, but AJ on this corner has the inside line. So that's a good battle there between Fury and AJ. They did that last season as well, I think, going side by side through there. Fury defended from Pyro. He shoves his way down the inside of Pyro there. They're going side by side, but Pyro has the inside line for this corner, and he gets ahead. But, yeah, like you said, Liam Karag, DRS is already enabled. I can't believe how quick that safety car went. Safety car restart went.
Flying past, of course. It is 2 laps of racing, then we get DRS, but when your 2 laps are only about a minute long, it doesn't long fly past, and XL Larkin on those 16 lap old mediums having not much chance at all to defend against Liam on those 4 lap softs. Of course, XL Larkin going to be hanging on as much as he can, using that DRS, using a lot of ERS there. You can see that red light blinking on the back of that Ferrari showing us that he is D-rating, 16% ERS battery available to him. A lot of the guys low on battery. Of course, you can regain a lot through this middle and third sector. Some good heavy braking zones. It is very much a pad ABS track in that regard, but plenty of action still to go. We're just over, or just about to hit the halfway mark, I dare say so, and what a race we've had already. Plenty more to come. Only 2 DNFs so far in this race. Marty crashing out in the pits and Jaime through the second S's. I love that shot there we got when we were looking at Liam. You could see the McLaren, of Seeb coming through turns 4 and 5 as they were coming through the third sector. But he is going to have a run down at Jeroen here with the assist of DRS into turn 1. The softs versus the mediums. Jeroen taking a little bit of a midline. Not quite close enough to make it by, but Fair getting past Larkin and Andreas getting past Nathan just behind. Plenty of action all over the shop here, Jamie. What a race this is to watch, let alone commentate.
And Andreas went off the track in turn 2, got compromised on the exit, didn't want to go full throttle because he would have spun, but Andreas maintains P7 ahead of Nathan. Looks like Nathan got the run on Andreas throughout turn 3, but Andreas covered it well, and looks like they're going to go side by side through here, but Nathan's too far back, so Andreas will have the track position. But yeah, a lot of them burning the ERS early this stage. I think P's won the race last season, and he's in P1 again, so this is a track he tends to go well around here, and you can see him burning his ERS to try and get out of the 1 second range of DRS towards Nathan. Once that happens, Nathan will be if Nathan can't get back in the DRS, he'll be struggling because he'll have the guys to watch out for, especially Liam on those soft compound tyres. But he's in the DRS range, and our first penalty. Steiny's got a penalty, but Mr. BT has a penalty as well. As you can see there, Nathan does have DRS this time. He didn't have it last lap. And there goes Liam then. He's right behind Jeroen, barely having an ERS to either of them, either combined. And around the outside he goes into turn 1. Can he make this stick? He has the inside line for the next corner. Yes, he does. Gets past Jeroen. What a good move there. Further on, we've got Mr. Hebomka getting past Rudy there. Pyro getting past AJ for P12. So we've got moves going on throughout the midfield there as well. What a fantastic race this is. Larkin at the back of Ferg. He's still keeping the contact despite having all the contact, all the tyres as well. So Liam in P3, what can he do? Once he takes the leader's race, I think he has to do some time management as well, because those tyres will be possibly shot towards the end. Their peak performance will be gone, and it's just about maintaining those tyres towards the end if he does get a punch or not.
Yeah, of course, once you get the tyre wear, of course, measured on a percentage out of 100, once you hit 75%, you really are in the danger zone and at risk of a puncture at any second. The softs get into that sort of percentage, their percentage ticks up faster than the mediums, which ticks up faster than the hards, respectively. So it will be a case of tyre management for Liam, or just waiting for a safety car at the prime time virtual safety car, perhaps. But he's shown really, really good pace on those softs versus the 2 in front and the plenty behind. He's really cut his way through that field and used an advantage. All of them dumping the battery here. I believe Liam, is going to have to save a bit of battery if he's going to hold the lead. What have you seen there, Jamie?
Berg looks like he's struggling massively. He just lost traction coming out of turn 2. Saved the car, but Larkin gets past. You expect Berg to be quicker than Larkin, judging by the tyre difference, but Ferg is struggling a lot. I'm not quite sure if he's sustained light front wing damage, because it looks like he's struggling at the moment. He's it looks like he's turning a lot, so it looks like he has got a bit of front wing damage. So sadly for him, he might be one of those guys involved at the safety car restart. I feel sorry for C, because he was in the middle of that, of course. 3 of them into turn 1, and also Nathan just ahead as well. Didn't really plan out for them, but C4 Gamer then being compromised along with Mark there. But Liam is on the back of his teammate. Liam, I think, is he a full-time driver, Liam?
He's in as a reserve. He was reserve last week for, I can't remember which team he's in, back in reserve for Red Bull, of course. Taking Jay Laura seat tonight. He was unable to race, so he is a reserve, but definitely one of the reserves you want represent your team. As Nathan goes down the inside, P's losing out P2, and Liam right on the back of them. Going to get a better exit with those softs, you would admit, but both of them having DRS on Nathan on the run down to to turn 4. P's still having a little bit more battery in the 2 and not able to make a move on Nathan and able to defend on Liam. And Jeroen starting to get involved in this battle as well. He's only a few tenths further behind Liam and Co, so expect him to get in the mix here. We know how aggressive and how pacey this man can be. Steiny in the pits for his first stop after 21 laps on those mediums.
Pease is under massive pressure, because if Liam gets past him, he could be the one to keep Pease behind for a long, long time and prevent him from catching Nathan. So Pease is really important if he takes the lead or stays in second place. Try and get the DRS and use the ERS off Nathan as well, because if Liam gets ahead, I could dare say Liam would hold him up, and Pease will be in a really awkward position, and so he has to stay within second place or first place. But a lot's gone on that lap, because XL Larkin lost 5 places in turn 2. I'm not quite sure if he lost traction coming out of turn 3. So Larkin is down in P9. So I'm not quite sure if he's had a problem. But that yellow flag you saw earlier on, that was Mr. BT. Sadly, he spun coming out of one of those slow corners as Pyro gets past Rudy. But
Valter having a moment through sector for turn 2 there. Sorry, I was just watching that. There was quite a few of them in a train close together, and Valter catching it before he drifts off in the wall on the outside there. Really having a struggling race here, the defending world champion.
Yeah, it's not wild to like. I think it's just one of those races. Sorry about that. Nathan was just lagging a bit. I thought he hit the pack of Pease, but he didn't. But will Liam care? As he's a reserve driver, will he care? Will he just go for it no matter who it is, his teammate or Pease? I'm not quite sure, but I don't think he wants to stick in P3 on those soft compound tyres. So he'll use most of those softs and get past Nathan or Pease if he can. He's stuck in P3, not the ideal position because you're in that DRS train, but he's right on the back of his teammate, and I wonder, will we see a move? Nathan won't like this whatsoever. He'll be thinking, Liam, please, you help me with Pease and all that. But if Liam don't care, and if he just wants to race for himself, that's good. That's all right. And will he try and go for it? No, he's too far back behind Nathan. Nathan having the DRS of Pease as well. So Larkin is in the pit lane for mediums to soft, so watch out for him towards the end of this race, being on those soft compound tyres. But has Liam got a decent exit coming out of turn 3? Can he set him up into turn 4? He knows Nathan's low on ERS, but he also knows himself he's low on ERS. So they all bunch up together into turn 4, but too far back to make any move. Jeroen Visser is in P4. He's in the worst positions out of all of it because he's just stuck in that DRS train. He can't do anything about it whatsoever other than just sit there, watch, and hopefully one of them will make a mistake or Liam's tyres will drop off. But Liam all over the back of Nathan there.
Yeah, Liam all over the back of Nathan. Like you said, you're in a kind of precarious situation. Can't really do much. He's saving a little bit of ERS there. Just had a look. Pease though sitting good on ERS compared to the two behind him. So he's obviously able to use that to defend along the DRS sections where he has the least speed due to his front wing being cemented shut versus the two guys behind him. But Liam, like you're touching on there, I'll be honest with you, I don't think he's going to be caring too much about team politics. I'll give you some insight. Of course, I'm a member of the Red Bull team, the combined constructor between all 4 tiers. I'm one of the tier 4 drivers in this Red Bull setup. And I did say to Liam, I'll be honest, I really like Liam. Haven't known him too long, but he's a cracking guy, and I'm glad to see him get a couple of runs out in CRL. Knowing him as well, he's going to go all for glory here. He is really in the name of LOI Liam Carag with an X. He won't be caring about the Red Bull Constructor Challenge or the title fight for the drivers. He's just here to race and have some fun, which we'll love to see here on CRL. That's what it's all about here. Putting down your pace, showing what you're made of, and enjoying the race while you can. And certainly, it has been an enjoyable race for all of us here. Let's hope everyone at home watching in the comment section down below is enjoying the race. Give us some feedback. What have you enjoyed so much about this race? Has this been your race of the season so far? Or are you expecting more from those tier 1 big boys? Are you feeling a bit underappreciated? We do love a bit of comment. What's the word? Interaction, Jamie. We've been a bit poor with that, I must week the last.
Look at Liam. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Liam's just let Jeroen go. That is very interesting. He didn't have any problems coming out of Chudtar. He just legit slowed down and let Jeroen go. That's very interesting. So he's let Jeroen go, and we'll see what happens with the top 3 then. Has Liam got a problem that we don't know about? I'm not quite sure. Or did he just want to let Jeroen go from the kindness of his heart? But he's just not quite sure what's going on there. Is the tyres okay? They shouldn't be... the wear should be too high. They should be still okay, but I think their peak performance will come to an end. And yeah, if those tyres do come to an end, they'll have to pit again, so we're going to have to watch out for that. But it's released a bit of pressure off Pease, I dare say, because they'll have to be worried about both Red Bulls at the back of him. But Jeroen then, up in that fight, he wants to extend his championship lead ahead of Walter. He's got some good points at the moment to extend his championship lead. Also, Pease will be closed in as well on that championship lead, bearing in mind his P3. Having a win of the last round, which was the Italian Grand Prix or US.
It was USA
Italian
last round.
Oh, USA. Yeah, USA's, where Pease won the race ahead of Jeroen Visser as he took it off him in the last lap. So this time it's Nathan and will he defend from Nathan?
I think maybe Liam, 12 laps in on those softs, of course, we expect them to last pretty good, lap 14, 16, the sort of maximum you really want to be taking them. So 13 laps now on those softs, almost losing it through turn 1, taking a little bit too much of those curbs. You can see he is starting to struggle a little bit with the tyres, so maybe just taking, you know, knowing he's not going to be able to battle with Nathan and Pease without losing too much of the tyre wear, just letting Jeroen do the dirty work for him, hang in the back there and hope an opportunity arises. If I was him, I would be praying to the Codemasters gods, or praying to us commentators to bit a curse on somebody and cause a safety car for that free pit stop for him. But we're going to try our best and avoid any commentators curse this week. Jamie, we've been doing pretty good this far, I would say. I'd say this is our first week without any sort of curse at all from us in the booth here. But now that I've said that, I'm sure it's about to come. We're riding on board with Nathan JB at the moment. He's currently in a little train with the two Alpines.
Yep, Nathan picked his first podium up in France. Andreas picked his first podium up in Australia, having a fantastic race back in Australia where Robbie won provisionally, but post-race penalties, he lost out. I was wondering where Robbie was. I was going to talk about him, but I realised he wasn't here. I was going to talk about him in Q1, but we'll talk about him now. So he's got the pace to be up there. He's been replaced by Faro Fiore. I know he's got the pace. I know Robbie. I've known him for like a few months now, and he has got the pace, but he's just had the misfortune of picking up those penalties. Probably been a bit too aggressive, but he know he's a really good driver, can be up there. Last time in USA, he was leading, took the lead ahead of Walter, but sadly he spun on those triple right-handers on that curb there. Obviously on the soft compound tyres where overheating is an issue. And in Australia, he took the lead off Walter in turn 13, and also he took third place away from Walter at the Monza Grand Prix, but both occasions picking up a penalty. So I was really hoping he'd turn up tonight with a fresh start. I know he likes Brazil because he won in a different place in Brazil, but he's not here tonight, sadly. Been replaced by Faro Fiore down there in P13, and yeah, we'll hope to see him back, and he can regain his form. Whatever he's doing at the moment, hopefully we can see him back and up there.
Absolutely. Touching what you're saying, you know, the speed of this grid, I would say across not just Div 1, across the whole of CRL, this is the best, paciest, most competitive season we've ever had in every division. I would almost say the Div 2 from this season is as quick as the Div 1 we had maybe 2 seasons ago, and vice versa. That follows down. Like, you look at our Div 4, our learning tier, you've got a lot of drivers such as Faro Fury on the wheel. Indian G's, a lot of you fellow fans that have been here for a while will be there, as well as fan favourites like Reverend Melvin, Mean Man Moody, that are just getting quicker and quicker. And although they're still in Div 4, they're still getting quicker, and the whole pace of the league is just going up and up and up. And that is really reflected at the top here. You've had guys like Pease, Jeroen, you know, guys like Nathan joining in, Liam Carrick, Ferg improving upon improving, Andreas, and of course Nathan and AJ, the guys that have been here from the start, the guys that do so much work for this league, improving week upon week, season upon season. And the league is just taking a step up this season. I really do believe that from the bottom of my heart. This has been the most competitive, the most paciest season we've ever had. There's a different atmosphere almost, a very competitive but friendly competitive atmosphere, and I absolutely love it this season. As we see Nathan going for a move, and Andreas moving across the left to half block him off, not able to make the move, and Nathan's still stuck behind those Alpines in front. But what a grid we've got on this tier 1. Even the reserves, I mean, like you're saying, we've got Robbie missing out, but you've got the likes of Larkin, Farrell, Fury, Liam Carrick. You know, your reserves are coming in. They aren't just here to fill up the numbers. They are here to do business. We've seen it in tier 2 last week as well in USA. Make sure you go and watch that race. A reserve won it, and I think a reserve got P3. Quality in depth here in CRL, that is our motto almost. Steiny picking up another 3-second penalty, not going well for the tier 2 champion down in P15, but still in for a point at this race as it stands. Oof.
Who's going to win, because he's got a lot of ERS he can play with against Nathan, who is lacking the ERS at the moment. But will Pease go for it again on Nathan? Bottom driver, there he goes then on the left hand side, and yeah, retakes the lead of this race. Lap 30 out of 36 is flown by. Walter is behind Nathan, who's behind Andreas, who's behind Ferg. Ferg and Andreas running well in P5 and P6 at the moment. They're doing a fantastic job for Alpine. And Pyro's there as well. Rudy's doing a good job on those hardcore parts. Bob Pure as well ahead of AJ and P11 and P12. Nathan doesn't go for it, but one driver I do miss as well is Nemo. Miss that driver. Hope he's doing well. Haven't seen him for quite a while. Another driver I miss is Steinslag as well. Wonder where he is at these days. Nemo and Steinslag.
I hate to break it to you, Jamie. Steinschlag is currently in P15.
Oh, he's oh, yeah.
Oh dear, Jamie. Oh dear. Did you get a good night's sleep last night, mate? Or are you feeling a little bit tired?
Face has gone red. And yeah.
Yeah, a lot of legends here missing, of course. Nemo, I like you say, a cracking fella, a cracking driver. Do well as well, unable to continue as a tier 1 full time. He's actually dropped down to tier 2 as a reserve. And we do have a yellow flag, that's Farrell Fury spinning out in the middle sector, doing a little bit of grass cutting and donuts at the same time. Not the race for the reserve, and he has no front wing for that Aston Martin, and that is very late disaster for his race. Not going well as it stood, but going even worse now. But a lot of big names missing from this grid when you think. A lot of big names missing throughout CRL this season, but yet we've still got such a good quality on the grid. It really is amazing. I genuinely think in about 2-3 years time, hopefully, you know, I'd love to see this league. I think it will still be going. It's strength from strength. A sort of legends versus current 10 versus 10 battle. Getting the old boys back together against some of the newer guys that we get in season after season. It could be sort of like one of those traditional invitational football matches almost. Could be quite the spectacle.
It's been a fantastic league.
I'd expect to see you in that grid though, Jamie.
Yeah, talk about that. Might see me, might not. I don't really mind where I am, to be honest. Commentating or racing is just a fantastic league in general. Ever since I joined here back in September 2020, yes, I remember that. Ever since I joined here, it's been a fantastic league. And yeah, like you said, I hope it keeps going, which it will go. We've got 20 amazing drivers. Nathan's behind Pease. He can't make the move. And look at that, Rudy going down the inside of Pyro from a long way back, but can't quite make it. Pyro has the track position, but he did compromise him into turn 2 and turn 3. Rudy will get a good run on Pyro there. I was just keeping an eye on the top 2, see if they change. But here comes Rudy then. He's going to go around the outside of Pyro into turn 4. They go side by side now. Rudy having the inside line, Pyro having the inside line and traction. Almost lost it, but out of turn 4. Stays ahead in P9, but that was a good battle there between those two. Rudy doesn't want to be P10 anymore. He's been stuck behind that DRS train. So was Head Bobpia, being the last of that DRS train between 5th and 11th there. But both Alpines are working fantastically together, and this must be frustrating Nathan, because he's tried to move on Andreas the last lap, but the DRS and ERS from Andreas, Nathan couldn't able to get past him, so he had to stay behind. But look at that. 4th place Liam is starting to drop on those soft compound tyres. His peak performance on those softs has came to an end, and Ferg is closing. The gap was 3.2 earlier on, now it's 2.2, and I expect to see a battle between those two soon, unless Liam pits, just in case of that's budget territory. But hopefully those tyres won't explode and can continue all the way to the end. We've got 3 laps left to go. The battle for P1, P2 and P3 is between the relentless drivers and Pease, Nathan and Jeroen. Jeroen being in the most awkward position, being in P3, because it's very hard to overtake with that DRS trade, so he'll be out of place there, must be said, in P3. And back to the battle there, no overtakes being done. Rudy's close again, but not close enough to go down the inside of Pyro, so he stays in P9 for the time being. Any more action going on? We've got Mark versus Steiner there for P14, Seaboard Gamers in P16 in No Man's Land, and Foul Fury has came out of the pits on a brand new set of softs, and his fight is with Mr. BT as well for P17, so it'll be an interesting fight between those two, Mr. BT and Foul Fury.
Absolutely, battles all
Pyro's
over
lost it. I'm very sorry, but Pyro has lost it just when I was flicking over, and he's lost 2 places with Rudy and Head Bompia. Those tyres, those medium compound tyres, look like they're graining a lot, and he's lost traction at those slow speed corners. So another driver to get caught out, but unlike Steiny and Foul Fury, he didn't hit the wall or spin the car, so he managed to save it, and he rejoins in P11, who will be the last of the DRS train.
Yeah, absolutely. Battles all over the field there. Pyro making an unfortunate mistake, but catching it nicely enough. Rudy, though, I expect to see him getting a little bit racy here these last few laps. On the hards, they're going to have a lot more tyre life left in them compared to the mediums. Doesn't have to conserve them much, and those mediums are getting towards the end of those tyre life. Speaking about end of tyre life, Liam Carrick, 21 laps on the softs. Only expected to do about 16 maximum we thought the guys would push them. He's really pushing them. Going to be 23 laps, I believe, by the end. Maybe even 24. I'm not quite sure if the counts will work out like that, if it counts the same time as a lap time or if it counts at the end. But he's bound to be near puncture territory. And look at that, Ferg right on the back of them, closing about 2 seconds in just over, I think, a lap or 2 laps. So this could get very, very interesting. Liam lower on ERS than Ferg. And if Ferg gets by him, Andreas, Nathan, Wouter, Rudy aren't far behind either. This could be Liam's drop from P4, a very respectable P4, to P9 if he cannot hold off this DRS train until the end of the race. 2 laps to go here. Nathan getting past P's for the lead. Jeroen looking to go down the inside through the turn 3. Not quite able to make it. He will have DRS, as will P's. Both close in the back of that Red Bull into turn 4. And Jeroen going to go for the inside line. P's getting the better exit on the outside. Side by side up the run towards turn 5/6, I believe it is. And P's on the inside, gonna be able to get it inside again for the next tight right. We've seen a few battles side by side throughout this entirety of the second sector, but P's getting the better of it as Andreas gets past Nathan and Ferg getting past Liam Carrick. Nathan fighting
all the
back
battles are going on. All the battles are going on between these drivers. You've got the midfield of Andreas going down the inside of Nathan for turn 9 there. Andreas reclaims P6. Liam Carrag has been overtaken by Ferg, and I expect Liam to drop further back on those ever-degraded soft compound tyres. The reason why Pyro and Het Bompje are further behind than they should be is because they had their own little battle in Sector 2. They went side by side, so that's why they've dropped back from the rest of them. But Nathan taking the lead. It's the last lap of the race. This is P's potential last chance then to get him into turn 4. Andreas has got past Liam for turn 5. Down the inside goes Rudy on Wouter. Wouter having the track position and the racing line, and he gets ahead or stays ahead of Rudy. But P's, you can see the flashing light at the back of Nathan's car. He's going to be under pressure on the straight. Nathan gets past Liam. Liam hits the wall, and Wouter goes off the track. He gets on the grass. He goes off the track. Did they make contact? I wonder. I'm not quite sure. I just caught the back of that. It looks like they did, but hopefully there's no. It's the last lap anyway, so they shouldn't be about. What happened to Wouter? Liam just went right to the track, but I want to keep an eye. There's more yellow flags. I want to keep an eye on Nathan and P's. More P's drag Nathan towards the line with the lack of EOS, but he's saving it up then, ready for the last stretch on the straight. AJ is overtaking Liam. It's all happening on this last lap, but this is P's, his last chance to reclaim the lead off of Nathan, but Nathan looks like he's got this covered. And yeah, Nathan will use the EOS all the way to the line because he's got a lot of it to spare. And there he is then. Nathan will win the Brazilian Grand Prix ahead of Total P's. Jeroen Visser will finish in P3. Berg will come home to finish in P4. Andreas in P5. And Nathan in P6. Rudy P7. Wouter P8. Het Bompje from P18 to P9. Wouter, in fact P8 actually.
Pyro, 3-second penalty.
Pyro just ran out of fuel. And he got pipped on the line by Larkin. Larkin just gets inside the top 10. Just by the skin of his teeth. Out dragging Pyro towards the line as he ran out of the fuel. And yeah, that was a fantastic race as Mark loses wheel. That's a shame for Mark, C4 Gamer, and all them.
I'd like to personally apologise to Liam Carrick. I did say about we were due a bit of commentators curse. I feel a little bit of onus on that. We did say the DRS train was appealing. He could come from anywhere from 4th to 9th, and it has been 14th for him. I'm not quite sure what happened though. No contact, just losing out onto the wall. I don't think he had made any contact with Wouter, but a strange one indeed. As Mr. BT, P18, not going to get any points. Doing some donuts.
Sorry about that. Yeah, massive apologies for Liam. He sustained a rear right puncher. That's the reason why he went to the right. Yeah, we didn't see that, but yeah, that was quite a strange jolt to the right. And it explains why he got a rear right puncher. So for those people wondering why he jolted to the right, it wasn't him, it was the puncher. Sadly, on that penultimate lap or last lap, he just tyre blew and lost it. That's a shame for him. Optimistic strategy. Those soft tyres will come to an end, and yeah, there's nothing he could do about it. But good run by Liam. Tried it, but it didn't work. But Nathan then wins ahead of P's. Jeroen Visser ahead of Ferg. He extends the championship lead ahead of Walter, Ferg in P4, Andreas in P5, both Alpines scoring good points for their team. Nathan in P6 in an Aston Martin, Rudy from P30 to P7. Het Bompier will be happy to score some points, P18 to P8. Walter get a 3-second time penalty. He went off the track. I'm not sure if he collects Liam in that little misdemeanor there, but Larkin in P10, Pyro P11. By running out of fuel, could have got a P10, but he ran out of fuel just on the line. AJ P12, Mark P13, Leon in P14, Sieb in P15, Steiny P16, Fowler P17, Mr. BT P18. Our retirements is Marty and Giant. Sadly for them.
Yeah, that P9 for Wouter sees him pick up 10 points versus Jeroen's 28. That extends the gap by 18 points to 22 points. Now, I'm just doing a little bit of mental gymnastics here. P's getting 33 points, so he will gain on Wouter by 23. He was only 19 behind, I believe. Is that the right graphic? No, that's the wrong graphic. He was, in fact, 29 behind. He will gain by 23, so he's only 6 behind Wouter now in this title contest. And Jeroen, firm favourite at the moment, 18 clear after 5 rounds. Of course, a third of the way through the season now. Time has flied because we've been having fun. Incredible season, topped off for the first third by an incredible race here, Jamie. Genuinely, I don't know. Props, not to blow our own home, but props to me and you, because I think we managed to catch the majority of the action and excitement there.
Yep, indeed. These first 5 races have flown by. Ever since we started commentating together pre-season, it's just flown by, and I'm really, really happy to commentate with you, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure so far, and we've got a lot of races left to go to provide some good action. But Nathan there, Jeroen Visser in P3 extending his championship lead ahead of Walter, and Total P's were closing as well on Walter, and a few points behind ahead of Jeroen as well. But congratulations to Nathan, well calculated. Ever since that second safety car restart, he was lingering out the 1 second range of DRS, but he managed to bring himself back in, and ever since then was planning and calculated some moves on the last penultimate lap there. So good strategy there from Nathan to choose his moves carefully and wisely.
Absolutely. Very, very calculated.
They're in the party, the Discord party, let's say.
Oh, here's I was just about to send a little message just to see if they're joining. It's very secretive, very quiet for them to join, but let's have a little look. Who do we have here? If things will do, we have in fact all 3 of them. So, what should we go, Jamie? Should we go P1 to P3 or P3 to P1? What do you think?
P1 to P3.
We'll go with P1. Nathan, your first win of the season. A poor start to the season, you must admit. Not up with the sort of standards we expect from you, but definitely showing us how it's done here tonight. A top battle with P's for the most part. Summarise that race for us.
Yeah, obviously, quali was okay. Obviously missing out by, I think it was like 14 thousandths to Mark, which, yeah, I got kind of blocked on the lap, but it was whatever. And then, yeah, the race was obviously just a case of just trying to stay in P1 or P2, because the only real way to win around most tracks is to just like stay top 2, because of how like OP the DRS and obviously like how much you save with ERS. So yeah, just a case of obviously trying to stay either behind P's or whoever it was. But yeah, happy to obviously get a win, and yeah, first actual points in the in Cone.
I must say, I'm very happy for you to get the win. No Red Bull bias here, mate. But solid points for you. Of course, Brazil, a bit of a pad OP track. Some may say that had an indication. I don't actually know what you drive on, mate. I'll be honest. But
yeah,
pad. So there we go. But
mad.
Silverstone next week, another sprint race. How did you find the first one in Monza, and how are you feeling for the second sprint race of the season as we head to Silverstone in the UK next week?
Monza was awful. Wheel FP, and I was just so good and invalidating in quali. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be racing, because obviously internet was a bit interesting, let's say. But if I am, Britain is quite nice. Obviously, it's quite easy to invalidate in a one-shot around Britain. So yeah, we'll obviously have to see Hopefully I can still race, but yeah, if I can't, then yeah, it's but yeah, if I am, hopefully try and push for another win, or at least just kind of start scoring consistent points and then see from there.
Well, you've definitely set yourself up for a good run from this win. It's very often we don't see a fluke win going from no points at all. Jamie, I'll hand it over to you as tradition for a little question, because I'm more of an entertainer than an analysis.
You did a very good job as well, because at the safety car restart, did you get tagged by a few drivers in turn 1?
Yeah, I think Seb, Mark, and Jerome went like 3 wide. So I think Siebel said after like the race that he got damaged, but I don't know if he like broke late or something. I think Mark might have got damaged as well. I think they just broke really late or something. Obviously trying to all outdo each other into turn 1. But yeah, obviously P's like broke DRS. So it was kind of a case of quali laps in the end. But yeah.
I was about to ask that, because at the safety car restart, Pease was pulling that 1 second gap. Were you a bit nervous because you had to burn a lot of EOS and that didn't work? You'd be vulnerable to the guys behind. So I want to say you did a fantastic job burning all the EOS, catching up to Pease, and saving the EOS ready for the attack on the penultimate lap. So you did a very good job calculating your attacks as well. So that's what made you the race winner today. I just want to say massive congratulations, mate.
Thank you, both for comms as well.
Thank you very much, Nathan. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations on your initial win here in CRL. Moving down the podium to P2, it is, of course, Season 5's race winner here in Brazil, Peas. Total Peas, relentless Peas. A man of many names and a man of many talents, picking up 33 points in the championship battle. Sees him close the gap on both Jeroen and Wouter. Wouter more so than others, having a disastrous race down in P9. Peas, you've got to be happy with that, mate.
No, I wanted 40 points, but we take it, we move, yeah.
40 points, of course, there for the win. What would you say was the difference between you getting the win or not? Might be a bit of a silly question, but for those that maybe don't understand the ins and outs of the racing here, explain it to us.
Nathan had a rocket ship, so even when he had no battery, I couldn't get him in the straight. Nothing to do with talent at all. It was just unfortunate.
Speaking of the battery, though, I noticed last lap, the run down to turn 4, you did have about 33%. Was that intentional, or was that just sort of saving up the battery, waiting for the opportunity, and never actually deploying it in the right places? Or am I being a bit silly here?
Nah, I had quite a lot, because I realised people weren't passing me behind. Or they didn't, because they didn't need to. And when people behind on using, you don't really need to use either. So it's just a case of I might as well save if everyone's saving, because we're all going to be switching, swapping everywhere. So I'll use it when it's needed. But in the end, it didn't work anyway.
Fair enough. Just speaking on battery as well, the early stint, we've seen you and Nathan pull away to begin with as things kicked off. Obviously, Nathan deploying quite a bit of battery there. You were staying steady, I think, between about 60% and 80%. Was that conscious, just letting Nathan pull away, drain out, and pull from the pack, and sit in that DRS, not even going for an overtake because there is still 20 odd laps to go?
Yeah, there was that. And then the point at which I thought, let me overtake and use my battery because I saw him flashing. He decides to pit, and I get a warning because I'm trying to get any slip jam, cut straight across. But nah. Yeah, it was a bit of both, but once we pulled from everyone else, I knew it was just a race between us two unless the safety car came out. So from then, it was just whatever happens, happens.
Well, again, congratulations from me on the P2, closing the gap to Wouter and Jeroen at the top. Jamie, anything for a Mr. Peas indeed?
Peas, during the first stint, Nathan did a very early pit stop on lap 9. How long were you planning to go on those soft compound tyres with the safety, bearing in mind as well, I can't even word it properly. How long were you planning to go to the end of the soft compound tyres before the safety car came out?
I was going lap 13 or so, because I knew that he'd undercut me, but the tyres would be a bit less worn. But that wasn't the case, because it turns out he had super tyre wear anyway. So I think in the end it wouldn't have worked out in my favour in terms of battling me and Nathan. But Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, apologies about the word mix-up there. But on the penultimate lap, Nathan overtook you. We expected Giroud to come as close as he did.
Oh, I knew they were gonna try double me, so I just had to squeeze Rune as much as possible. We had a good, nice fight through sector 1 and 2, and we didn't die, which is good.
Always key thing to happen. Thank you very much, Peas, for joining us again for another interview this season. Having a poor start with a little bit of a DNF in Australia, but certainly coming back P3 in the championship and closing the gap on the top two. Speaking of the gaps in the top two, Jeroen, P3 here tonight. Wouters P9 sees you jump from 4 points clear to 18 points clear if my maths is correct, and before, of course, any stewarding penalties are applied. You've got to be happy with that. Maybe slightly disappointed, like Peas was saying, not getting the 40 points, but regardless, another podium, another good race, title on.
Yeah, it's a long game for the whole season, of course, but yeah, it's obviously the aim. But yeah, today I didn't have the pace in the end to get the win, or maybe the P2 even, I don't know, but yeah, I was trying to get past Peas, but yeah, I could just feel like the corners before my tires were, yeah, I had no front end of I had no grip, so I backed off on the outside of, I don't know what turn it is, turn 8 or something. Yeah, P3 decent points in the end, extending the lead. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
Definitely qualifying, maybe not going fully to plan, not quite the times you were hoping for. I believe was it P5 you started off on the grid?
Yeah, no, I was really happy with my qualifying lap, but I think I've only done this lap, or I've only done a faster lap than this one, so yeah, for me it was pretty good. I didn't expect it to be P5, but yeah, P5 is position you can work on from, so it wasn't too bad.
Absolutely, and of course, same sort of question as what we had for Peas with that safety car, of course, starting on the softs. How long were you thinking of going? What was that? Was that a big impact on your strategy? Was that a bit of a auto moment, or did you think, right, this is a chance, opportunity here, the gap's going to close back up to the top two and we can really go for this?
No, the safety car was pretty good, so we could close back up to Nathan Pease. Yeah, I was planning on, yeah, like lap 12 or something. That was my original plan. Yeah, but Nathan pit is very early, so maybe P or lap 11, but yeah, the safety car made it a lot easier.
Absolutely. Jamie, hand it over to you for a little question or two for Mr. Jeroen, or Jerome, as he sometimes prefers.
Jeroen, how nervous were you going into turn 1 after that safety car restart? Because you went 3 wide, but lucky for you, 2 of them got damage out of the 3, so you came out cleanly out of that one. So how do you feel about that turn 1 incident?
Yeah, I didn't even know until now we were 3 wide. I was side by side with Seep, that's all I know, and so I knew there was car on the inside, so and the outside was open, so I just broke late into the space on the outside, and yeah, Nathan in front of me got punted by either Mark or Seep, and I could go around that. So yeah, I didn't have any contact in that turn, so for me it wasn't too bad.
You did a fantastic job recovering back to P3, because it would have been frustrating for you being in that DRS train, wasn't it, in the first stint?
Yeah, no, I was not. I knew it. I didn't have to push it, so I was just staying in the train. I knew as well that Seep was running high wings, so I was planning on getting past him. Actually, the lap the safety car came out, but yeah, the safety car was way better, so we could close back up to the lead train.
Do you think there was any chance of you winning the race with Total P's and Relentless Days fighting?
No chance.
No chance. But I want to say
like
congrats.
the first and second, they can switch positions when you're in the, yeah, like every time. So either one of them would stay in front and be, yeah, from P3 it's almost impossible.
Were you a bit confused with Liam, because he slowed down and let you through? Were you a bit confused? Were you and the party together speaking?
No, we were not speaking. Yeah, I appreciate it, but yeah, his softs were dying. I was right behind him, and he just didn't fight it. So thanks to him for that. But yeah, in the end, I would have gotten him anyway when the softs died. You could see
Yeah,
how much he was dropping when he got out of the train.
He actually sustained a punch as well. But congratulations on another podium. Congratulations for extending your championship lead as well, Jeroen. How do you feel about Silverstone?
Yeah, Silverstone. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm decent there, so it's going to be a big train again, and just see where you qualify is going to be really important. But I'd say I can do a good job there.
Yeah, I also want to say apologies about the microphone in the game chat as well, Jeroen. Does that really
problem.
distract you? Does that distract you in the left hand side?
It's a bit annoying seeing your name like pop up. It wasn't something bad, Nate. Don't worry.
Well, we'll leave it there for the interviews tonight, folks. Thank you very much to Relentless Nathan, Relentless Peas, and Relentless Jerome, Jeremiah, however you pronounce it. I know I've had a little bit of banter at the parties, mate, so about the pronunciation. But thank you all three for joining us this evening for a little chat after the race. And what a race it was! Plenty of action, plenty of overtakes, plenty of drama, as we come to expect here in CRL. And I couldn't think of somebody better to sit in beside it than exactly the man here himself, Mr. FRL, Jamie93, Jamie Morris, Jamie Indigo. Thank you very much for joining me. For 5 rounds of Co and CRL already this season, this has really flew by, like we said earlier on, a third of the way there. And this season, it's not like last season where we saw Wouter really jump ahead and take it on his own. This is going to be a really, really interesting season, and I can't wait to see what the next 10 races hold for us.
Exactly, mate, exactly. Can Walter bounce back after a disappointing race here in Brazil? Started off in Q1 in Brazil, didn't really have the pace, got caught up with a bit of incidents with Liam as well, getting that punch on his right rear tyre. Sadly for him, just the one lap to go, and just that rear tyre just gave up. But hopefully Liam could come back as well. Looks like Liam's had really strong pace showing in USA and here in Brazil as well. And Robbie, if he does come back, I really hope he can put on a good fight as well, because we know he's got the race pace. We know he can fight up there as he has done in the past few races. So I'll be interested if Robbie comes back and see if he can recover as well.
Absolutely. I think the most interesting part about this is the season end when we have the predictions results, because I don't think anybody's going to get a spot on prediction of how this season goes. I go into every week not knowing a thing. I know roughly what the time's going to be, but do I know who's going to get pole? No. Do I know who's going to win the race? Absolutely not. And that's what we absolutely love about this. But thank you once again, mate, for joining me. I have, of course, been your host, CRL Freefall, joined by Jamie. And we look forward to seeing you again next Thursday at 8:30 PM. Make sure, though, to check out on the Cone Racing League channel. We had our Tier 2 race kicking off at 7:30 GMT earlier on. Some of you may have seen that, the first part of that at least, and seen who won, who lost, and who made all the big moves in that race. I'm sure it was an excellent one, but make sure to join back on the channel 7:30 and 8 o'clock next Monday GMT. For Tier 3 and Tier 4 respectively, as our younger, not younger I suppose, because there is a few oldies in there. Shout out to McConey and Co, Murphy, etc., the PO gang. But join us for them as they take to the track for more CRL action. And then join myself and Jamie back here next week, Thursday, 8 PM, for the Silverstone Sprint Race, the second of the season, round 6 of Season 6 of CRL, as we see the likes of Jeroen, Peas, Nathan, Wouter, Nathan JB, AJ Wuhan, and all the rest of your favourite CRL drivers take to the track for what is sure to be another interesting race. Thank you all for joining us. I wish you all a very good night and a very good evening. We will see you all in the coming week. Goodbye.